Well, I ain't sure, but I think this girl is dangerous. Dangerous. Cause she be on my mind, last night was fabulous. Oh, oh, oh. I call her Miss Naughty Naughty, how she teases, oh my God. Oh my God. She make her brother heat up, yeah, yeah. I mean she's hot like a heater. Thinking of seeing her again, yeah, yeah. Take her out and fly away, yeah, yeah. Keep her closer day by day. Did you hear me say, did you hear me say? Thinking of seeing her again. Take her out and fly away. Keep her closer day by day. Did you hear me say? How she move is slow. Damn, she got it all. The way she took control. She make her brother hate her. Think she's hot like a hater. Up on my radar. Always on my mind, on my radar. Give you all my time, you're my data. Give you all my time, you're my data. Yeah, up on my radar. Always on my mind, on my radar. Give you all my time, you're my data. Give you all my time, you're my data. Magnetic affection. She pulling me close and no tension. Right now she has it all my attention. I keep them all out of protection. I don't know what she did to me. She's all in my head, this cannot be. I feel it when she's there in front of me. That's why thinking of seeing her again. Take her out and fly away. Keep her closer day by day. Did you hear me say? Did you hear me say? Thinking of seeing her again. Take her out and fly away. Keep her closer day by day. Did you hear me say? How she move is slow. Damn, she got it all. The way she took control. She make her brother hate her. Think she's hot like a hater. Up on my radar. Always on my mind, on my radar. Give you all my time, you're my data. Give you all my time, you're my data.
Ain't nobody stopping me. Ain't nobody stopping me. Ain't nobody stopping me. Ain't nobody stopping me. Ain't nobody stopping me.
try to erase you, but you're written in ink. I really can't face you, but you're all that I see. It just makes me mad that I want you back, but I can't stop thinking about it. I'm stuck living without it. That look on your face, how it made me feel safe. Now I can't stop thinking about it, but I'm better off without it. Ooh, we were never destined to live inside this tension. Call us a learning lesson. Ooh, 'cause there's a better me at the end of all these feelings. Call us a learning lesson. Everything's clearer when you're not in the way. But in the mirror, I still see your face. It just makes me mad that I want you back, but I can't stop thinking about it. I'm stuck living without it. That look on your face, how it made me feel safe. Now I can't stop thinking about it, but I'm better off without it. Ooh, we were never destined to live inside this tension. Call us a learning lesson. Ooh, 'cause there's a better me at the end of all these feelings. Call us a learning lesson. I'm trying, I'm finding, I think I'll be alright. Just give me time. I'm trying, I'm finding, I think I'll be alright. Just give me time. I'm trying, I'm finding, I think I'll be alright. Just give me time. I'm trying, I'm finding, I think I'll be alright. Just give me time. Ooh, we were never destined to live inside this tension. Call us a learning lesson. Ooh, 'cause there's a better me at the end of all these feelings. Call us a learning lesson.
Hello and welcome everyone to the solo match finals of KDL Preseason 2. I am State, joined with me is Peter, and today we will conclude a months-long journey to crown a victor in the solo match finals. We started with many players, Peter, now we are down to 8.
It is super exciting to see the cream of the crop that finally made it here today, and we have some exciting names to show you guys today.
Absolutely. The first player coming onto the stage is going to be DDING. Now this guy from solo match to team match has absolutely blown out everybody's expectations, really. In team match, the #1 ranking player in average ranking over the course of the entire season. And now here in solos as well, Peter. The first seed coming here into the finals.
Absolutely. I feel like DDING is a player that's really starting to prove himself successfully once he made the move to KDL. And not only in the solos, but also in teams. This player has been showing a phenomenal result so far, so we have a lot of expectations today.
First player coming out for the Guangdong Freaks, the #2 seed in the black stripes, is going to be Spear, one of all 4 players, the Guangdong Freaks, to qualify here for the top 8 finals. As we're getting a little bit of a preview of the team match finals tomorrow with so many Guangdong Freaks and Live Sandbox players representing here. Now Spear, a veteran of Kart Rider, he's shown very consistent performance so far in the solo matches. Wait and see how he does here today.
Absolutely. Spear in the previous season, he actually got eliminated in the round of 32, but this time he's made it here in the finals as the Black Racer.
And of course, his ace World coming onto the stage. He's led Guangdong Freaks to their 2nd consecutive team match finals, and now he's looking for a crown here in the solo match finals of the final preseason this year. I mean, KDF, they've been looking so strong, really across the board, not just in team match, but in solo match, both in preseason 1 and in preseason 2, and their lineup. I mean, it all comes down to the leadership of their ace and the skill they have on their roster.
Absolutely, and the player World, he has a history of being really clutch in the moments when it's needed. Of course, our next player here, JiMin, it is going to be the first time that JiMin actually reached the finals through winning the winners group, and he's having such a great season right now here in preseason 2.
Yeah, I mean, he used to be the item ace for Live Sandbox in KDL Preseason 1 until they had to shuffle their roster with some new additions and move him into a hybrid role, and man, has he fit in, as he's excelled not just in team match speed, but also in solos, reaching another consecutive finals here in the KDL Preseason. And now Peter coming onto the stage, SUNGBIN, another hyped player here from Guangdong Freaks.
Absolutely, SUNGBIN, although he is that player from Guangdong Freaks, and it makes you think, wow, he's got to be a great player, but he is actually the only player here that came from the losers group, so he has a bit to show on his shoulders, but I feel like SUNGBIN, he's going to be fine because overall, we know he has a very consistent playstyle.
Absolutely, and I mean, one poor performance over the course of an entire solo match season is not a good litmus test for how this guy's going to perform here in the finals, as he absolutely has what it takes to take it. But speaking of taking it, the reigning victor from the previous KDL Preseason 1, Cool, now coming onto the stage, looking for a repeat performance here.
Cool, I mean, his name just speaks for himself. You can see
in
the demeanor that he walks in. It's like an emotionless player that's here to just prove the perfect lines today and try to finish first in every single race.
He's been making it to the finals so consistently over the course of his career, especially recently in Kart Rider and in KDL. And now entering the stage, the only global player to really strive in Korea, find his way into the top 8 here in solos. Everyone applauds, and NEAL, with a cute little smirk on his face, makes his entrance onto the stage. Now this is a guy that usually loves to play it so cool, but it's a big moment for him coming back onto the stage here in the KDL, and can't help but smile. So much personality on this guy.
Oh yeah, especially even on the bow. I love how he's being cheeky about it.
Yeah.
Just gotta love this man. He's a superstar here in our KDL amongst so many stars. And NEAL, he has struggled this season because he came in as a blue racer, but you know, he's NEAL.
Yeah, NEAL and Luning, both the 2 players to emerge victorious from the 3-way tie that decided the fate of the final 2 players to qualify here in the top 8. And so accompanying him will be Luning, the ace from Team Aura, who has made really a name for himself this season. Joining forces with Aura, he's had tremendous performance in team matches. Unfortunately, his team not able to make it to the playoffs, but they have made it here to the solos.
Yeah, it's for Luning, his first final, so it's going to be a lot on his shoulders, especially with the new environment. In the solo finals, we are playing to get to 80 points, not 50, and that's where really the consistency starts to shine.
Yeah, consistency becomes very important here in the solo match finals. As normally, up until this point, every single group, every single time these guys played in solo matches, it's first to 50 points, and then whoever's in the top 4 of the brackets, they move on. They survive to the next round. But here, it's a little bit different. It's first to 80 points, and the top 2 racers, after that 80-point mark has been reached, will set off into a 1v1 ace match, a best of 5 to decide who's going to be bringing home the gold and who's going to be the runner-up.
Yep, there's the prize money for our champions and all the way down to 4th and 8th places. And in previous season, it was Cool and NEAL making it to that set 2 1v1 ace. And Cool actually beat out NEAL 3-0, which was quite unexpected.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a really close rank, but Cool, I mean, he was just looking so solid. And of course, 10 million Korean won, a first place prize up for grabs. So much money on the line, and you got to think that DDING, given his performance, not just in team, but also in solo match, coming in as the #1 seed, the consistency that he has shown over the course of the entire season in team matches and in solo matches, that's going to translate to success here today.
Absolutely. DDING is a player that has proved to be one of the keys to success of Seongnam Rocks, who unfortunately didn't make it to the team finals, but this is the best showing they've had in a while, and you can tell just by his stats, it's just first everywhere. He is the ideal definition of our yellow racer. Absolutely,
but Spear, another very consistent player. He's made the podium, I think, more times than anybody else. Yeah, it actually says right here on screen. I don't know, I'm trying to remember this. Round of 16 winners match. He's captain consistency, man. It feels like every single time that he's racing, he's aiming for a top 3 or a top 4, and that kind of point accumulation, if you can do that over the course of an 80-point race, it's really a marathon and not a sprint. That can be the difference between getting a 3rd place or a 2nd place. So Spear coming in as the #2 seed with a nearly 60% podium percentage. He's going to be a really formidable opponent.
Absolutely, and you got to remember that Spear, he's also been a Kart Rider League champion in the solos, and he's also had numerous final experiences, so I'm sure he's coming in today with not too much pressure.
Yeah, but World, of course, the speed ace for Kwangdong Freaks, leading his team to their 2nd consecutive team match finals, and now coming here into the solo match finals. You would love to be the victor here today in the final preseason round of the KDL before we kick off the regular season later this year. And this guy has a specialty class on Desert Construction Chaos. I always think of Kwangdong Freaks as being one of the best teams, if not the best team, on that track in team speed. But apparently it also translates into solos.
Absolutely. World really showing to be that ace player for Kwangdong Freaks, and today he is only playing for himself, right? Although he has his whole teammates participating in the solos, he's going up against them, and when it comes to Desert Construction Chaos, as you said, State, he's not going to give up that lead.
Yeah, I like calling him the Desert Prince there. That's a nice little name that our team came up with here, as he's been so successful on Desert Construction Chaos over the course of these solos. And we'll see what he's able to do here today. I mean, he is the speed ace on what has been the most accomplished team here in the KDL thus far. And you got to think that his potential is really high.
Especially when you consider the fact that he has 6 wins in KDL Ace matches, which is quite a feat. Many players got an opportunity to go up on that Ace match, but to come away with 6 wins out of that is a whole new story.
I mean, Jung absolutely broke away with the story in Season 1 of the KDL Preseason, with all the success that he found, but World has been consistent, not just in KDL Preseason 1, but with Preseason 2, now holding the record at 6 wins there in solos. And now the White Racer coming in from Lib Sandbox. It is their former item ace, JiMin, who is looking to get a solo match victory here, man. I mean, this is a guy that has solidified himself as not just somebody that specializes in item mode, but is a top-tier racer in and of his own, both in team matches and in solo matches.
Absolutely. You can see that for JiMin, he has mostly been focusing on coming in with the consistency rather than just focusing on being the first place at all times. But that strategy has definitely worked out for JiMin so far, because he's made it to the finals in Preseason 1, and now he's done it again here in Preseason 2.
It's very consistent. He would love a solo match victory here, as that title has eluded him over the course of his career. Would just be one more accolade, and what has really been a storied history for Lib Sandbox and for JiMin individually is I think he's absolutely somebody to look out for. I was surprised in KDL Preseason 1 that he was able to qualify for the finals, considering that he was the item ace, but I mean, the skill just speaks for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, our next racer here is going to be Purple, coming in with SUNGBIN. And we must say, SUNGBIN, he's been struggling this season. When you take a look at his results as well, you know, he's been fluctuating quite a bit.
Yeah, a little bit more varied here, so he's going to have to buckle down and deliver a more consistent performance here in the finals of the solo matches if he wants to move on to that 1v1 ace match and potentially become a victor. And if he could repeat the performance that he's had so far here on Glacier Extreme Stadium, not just holding the best record, but winning it, I think, in 3 separate rounds.
Yep.
That's the kind of success that you want.
I love it. I mean, it's amazing that all of these players here have a track on their name where they are so good at it that we have the stats to back it up. And that's why these are the final 8 here in KDL Preseason 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can even see from SUNGBIN round 1 to round 4 there in the round of 16 final match, getting top 2 every single time, getting first place 3 times in a row. You know, a near perfect performance to start out the round of 16 final match, but as you said, not as consistent after that.
Right.
He showed maybe a little bit of fatigue moving on later into that that group, as it was one of the longer ones, and you got to worry a bit about whether he's going to be able to hold up in a condition where you're racing not to 50 points as it was in the round of 16 final match, but now in the top 8, you're racing to 80. You're really going to need to come through with some endurance.
Yeah, and I think SUNGBIN will definitely be able to pull that off, but our next racer in the green is going to be cool, and I love how our producers are saying cool stats do not lie.
Yeah, they do not, and the green light absolutely apt for this guy, the reigning victor from KDL Preseason 1 in solos, of course, 3-0ing NEAL in a very convincing fashion. Now coming on here a little bit lower in the seeds this time around, but I mean, don't let that deter you. This guy's an absolute killer in solos.
I feel like when we analyze Cool as a player, a lot of people are saying this guy, he aims to play like a robot. He's always about perfection and focusing on his line to make sure that he can get to first, and he's able to do it so many times that if you let him have the momentum, he may as well take first place 4 times, 5 times in a row.
He's very good at avoiding situations where, you know, racers are piling up on each other, and he just kind of tries to play his own line, tries to do it as safe as possible. And the builds that he can come up with are pretty miraculous. So we'll see what Cool's able to deliver here today. Is, you know, having a repeat victor for KDL Preseason 1 solos and Preseason 2 solos would be an incredible storyline going into the regular season later this year.
Yeah, not only that, tomorrow Cool is playing in the team match finals as well. So being the champion of solos, you know, that has to give you a little bit of confidence in your shoulder. It's sitting a bit higher than usual because you know you are so good at kart riding.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a rivalry here today because, you know, we have 8 players in this lobby. 4 of them are from the Guangdong Freaks. 2 of them are on Live Sandbox, and that's the team match finals tomorrow. So there's going to be a little bit of pride at stake, whether it's going to be a Guangdong Freak champion or a Live Sandbox champion or somebody else entirely. As NEAL, I mean, this is another guy that hasn't particularly been consistent, especially this KDL Preseason 2, but I gotta say, he's looking very good here in KDL. He definitely still has the same skills he brought over from Kartrider Original, and there's a reason why they call him the genius here in the Korean scene. Is he's one of the most creative players in terms of builds, in terms of the lines that he takes, the approach that he generally has to the game. He's an out-of-the-box thinker, and that can really, you know, be an ace up your sleeve in a solo match finals like this.
Absolutely. NEAL, I feel like in Preseason 2, he has mostly focused on trying to be more consistent and cutting down on some of those creative builds. And so far, it hasn't been working well. So we could definitely see NEAL today coming in, like you said, Stay, opting back for those genius builds that allowed him to get such a huge lead.
Yeah, and him coming here as the 7th seed, I mean, with Cool the 6th seed and NEAL as the 7th seed, just goes to show how stacked this lobby absolutely is from top to bottom, because we're going to be rounding this one out with Luning in just a moment. And I mean, just the skill here in solo match, it was heated last preseason, but it feels like in general, the skill level just continues to rise and rise and rise here on the KDL. This is one of the reasons why we have the preseason launching the new game with Kartrider Drift and launching a new league here on the KDL. Is you got to give these players time to get up to speed, to get into their top form, And now you have to wonder whether guys like Cool and guys like NEAL are actually going to be able to deliver this same kind of performance consistently that they did in KDL Preseason 1.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about NEAL and Cool specifically is how their play styles work. We talked about Cool being a player that likes to focus on staying ahead, whereas NEAL, he's all about the creative build and getting maybe more advantages in the boost gauge. And we know NEAL as a player that is so successful with timing his drafts. And that's what was a crucial factor of a lot of NEAL's victories. And I feel like even here in the solo matches, the drafts can play a nice role. So I'm excited to see how NEAL will maneuver around that mechanic.
I mean, with him and Luning there in the tiebreaker match that we had at the round of 16 final match, there was 3 racers and only 2 of them could survive to move on here into the finals. That was a big part of why he was able to make it, was that drafting and the lines that he took. It was just very safe, very conservative play, and that allowed him, and also this guy you see on screen, Luning, to qualify as the number 7 and number 8 seeds here into the KDL solo match finals.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, State, Luning is definitely a player that's at the top of our mind as one of the players in Kart Rider Drift where you know he's so good. He's a successful runner, and he can adapt to many different positions. You can see, based on the tracks he's played, he's shown pretty good consistent results in multiple tracks.
Yeah, especially on the mine tracks, just always seems to be consistent on that one. Round of 32 Group A was able to win both on mine-winding slopes and on 3 shortcuts. In round of 16, he came back and won on rickety rails. So he's been able to deliver a win on each one of these, and it feels like every single time he's getting podium. So of course, look to see if he gets a track win here. You know, the winner of the track gets to choose the next map, and I would not be surprised to see Luning just really double down on the mine 3 shortcuts, mine winding slopes, mine rickety rails, and try to play into that speciality that he has.
That would be definitely huge, especially given that Luning, for him, it's his first ever appearance in the solos finals. I actually got a chance to meet Luning earlier, and I wished him the best of luck. And Luning, he just seemed really focused and not really nervous from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be able to keep your nerves, especially as a dark horse coming into a group like this one, which is truly a group of death here as we finally have the cream of the crop in the top 8 of the solo match finals. And you know, I remember back to KDL Preseason 1, Wolf was so high on this guy, Luning.
Yep.
Talking about all the potential that he has, and here in KDL Preseason 2, he absolutely shows that faith was deserved. He did well in the team matches over the course of the entire season, despite his team aura not being able to qualify for the postseason this time around. And in solo matches, being able to secure the final seed here into the top 8.
Absolutely. It was a rough journey for Luning, having to go against opponents like NEAL, but now he's made it here, and he's going to have to play against the best of the best now. And I think that, honestly, he's not sitting out as a player that's clearly a weak link. Nobody's a weak link in this group, and we could obviously look at players like World and NEAL and be like, look, they were the finalists last season. We'll probably see them again. But no, honestly, I can't put my fingers on that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really hard group to call. I'm not sure who I would pick to run away with this one. I mean, the lobby is so stacked that even legends like Hojin and Jung weren't actually able to qualify for the top 8 because it's so stiff. I mean,
Right.
The competition just absolutely fierce here. And, you know, previously in KDL Preseason 1, I think we had a very good idea that probably Cool was going to be able to make it. He had very solid performances through all of the solo matches that season. And same with NEAL. You know, he was consistently solid. Seemed to be a favorite coming into it. But you got to wonder now, who is actually going to emerge victorious? And I got to say, I think the number 1 seed, DDING, is absolutely the guy you got to pick. He was the number 1 ranked player in team match, number 1 ranked seed coming into solos. He's been so consistent, so successful, and he says, for the sake of his brothers, he's going to emerge victorious here today. Oh, I love that drawing.
That was a sick little drawing. I love it as well. But our next player here is Fear, and we recognize this player as the body blocker from Guangdong Freaks. He is always playing the sweeping role pretty well, but when he's focusing on his own lines, he is also fearsome in that manner.
I mean, it feels like he gets podiums more often than pretty much anybody else, and it's a big part of why Guangdong Freaks has so much success, not just in team match, but in solos here as well. Entering the stage, wants to go steadily without any ups and downs. Of course, it is really a marathon, racing to 80 points. So anytime you can just secure podium after podium after podium, even if you're not winning the track, that's a good path to success.
Yes, and JiMin is going to be our next racer from the white color, and saying fighting today and tomorrow to himself.
Yeah, absolutely. As JiMin, he's got his eyes set not just on the team victory tomorrow, but also on emerging victorious today here in solos. Now, the victory did elude him in KDL Preseason 1, but you would love to emerge victorious today. And SUNGBIN, one of the players on the Freaks that's going to try and prevent that from happening.
Yeah, and he says he's just going to leave it to his instincts, which I do love, because I definitely feel like when humans play games, they fall into like a habit of sorts, and that exact habit is what brought SUNGBIN to this place, and he knows it, so he just needs to focus on his own game today.
Especially as a player that's struggling a little bit with consistency. If SUNGBIN can buckle down, it'll be very good for him. And now Cool just wants to enjoy the race, man. I mean, you emerged victorious last season. You won that 10 million Korean won prize. You're going to keep your cool, just as he says. Oh, look at that graphics. That's like a shiny. It's like a Pokemon card almost.
Yeah, and in fact, in Korean, it said defending champion. So
yeah,
you can see the confidence really shine there. But another very confident player here in NEAL, and we love to see that little dog doll that he often brings up.
And he says, if I can't win, I'll be the bomb. And I don't know exactly how he means that. Does he mean the bomb like the 90s slang the bomb, like at least he's going to put on a good show, or does he mean that he's going to cause problems? I don't know. It's hard to say, right?
I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But our next racer in orange here is Luning, and he's saying, "Alright, guys, it isn't over yet. Are you guys watching?" to his previous teammates.
Yeah, C's Tech Knock and Hero, of course, will be rooting for Luning from home, as Luning, the only player from Team Orange who come here to the solo match finals, showing off the team colors right there on his shoulder. The number 8 seed, but he deserves the spot, absolutely. The speed ace on his team. And Peter, I think it's time for us to get started here with the solo match finals of KDL Preseason 2. Let's get this ball rolling as we move on to track number 1. It's going to be World Tour New York Rap.
We kickstart our first match of solos finals here in set number 1, and it seems like so far we're seeing most of the players kind of clumped up together, trying to grab whatever lead they can, but it's World and Spear right now in 1-2.
Yeah, World and Spear in 1-2, but SUNGBIN had a really creative build, just maximizing nitrous gain and also blocking out a lot of these players, so he's really sitting very comfortably in 3rd position right now, and Cool and do his best to catch up. And man, he's got so much nitrous in the bag that he's able to close that distance very quickly.
Absolutely. Right now, it's seeming like Cool, he's trying to get back into the first place, as we know he likes to do. We're seeing players like NEAL, DDING, and JiMin, they're in the back right now, and it's going to be really hard for them to catch up. So the top 3 is what's really solidified, and Cool and Luning is trying to catch up.
And for SUNGBIN, who's so oftentimes an early starter here in solo matches, it's going to be critical that he gets another podium here to start things out, as we have seen him in previous groups. Starting to teeter out as the group continues along, and right now he's contesting with Spear for position 1.
Right now, it seems like Spear, he's been holding on to this lead throughout the whole track almost. World has been fighting with him constantly. Now it's NEAL coming out from the back lines.
Yeah, but a lot of collisions right there, and NEAL gets the fore end of the trade as he falls all the way down to position 4. We'll see if he can draft his way back into a podium spot. Now Luning, Cool, and World all battling here. Luning, his teammates, they're watching, they're cheering for him back at home. Right now he's sitting on a 1st place. He's going to win track number 1, but Cool with a tighter line, able to cut off everybody. And here on the straightaway, it seems like he has just enough speed to win track number 1 here as the reigning champion from KDL Preseason 1. Just continues to pile it on, man. 10 points on the board.
Man, it feels like throughout the race, Cool, he was kind of struggling in the middle of the pack, but the way he's able to catch up near the end, this is what makes the player that we know in Cool. He loves going for the aggressive inners, not giving up any slight speed, and that's what was allowed him to get this victory here in the first round.
Yeah, that was a pivotal moment for him to come in, and for SUNGBIN, who was looking so good over the course of that race, to fall all the way from what could have been a podium finish to 8th place is kind of a heartbreaking moment for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tough way to start things off, but luckily we are racing today all the way to 80 points, so there's going to be plenty of opportunities for our players to catch up in those points as it's needed. Of course, unless Cool right now, he wins 7 more tracks after this.
I mean, that would be something incredible. I would be flabbergasted if anything close to that occurred here. But Cool, if anyone in the world could do it, it probably would be him, as he's been certainly the most accomplished solo match racer thus far here in KDL. As we're moving on to track number 2 now, Peter. Let's get ready to move on to what's going to be a pivotal one. Can Cool keep the momentum going as we move on to World Tour? Out of the airplane we go as the racers are off. Of course, Cool being victorious there in track number 1, able to choose this as his preferred track here in track number 2.
Keep in mind that DDING is holding the best record currently here in Rio de Janeiro, so it is going to be a tough matter, but Cool is saying, nope, I'm just gonna draft onward and beat everyone else.
Yeah, Cool somehow just threaded the needle and had nearly no collisions through all of that, you know, tight traffic, I want to say, coming into it. And he's able to emerge victorious here in position number 1, battling once again with Spear and Luning for these top 3 spots. But Cool, he's been consistent, not just in team matches and sweeping, but also in solos as well. It's going to be really hard for Luning to pass him, but I say that, and Luning with a really nice inner, actually able to unseat Cool from first place.
Yeah, but keep in mind that Cool, this guy, he loves to catch up. His focus is always there. However, he's now going to fall into 5th place. A lot of new racers are appearing in the top 4 right now. It's DDING and SUNGBIN fighting with Luning for first place. Yeah,
well, DDING had 3rd place at the last track, so he would love to come through with another podium finish here. He's definitely in position for it. 400 meters left to go, Peter.
I'm looking at DDING right now, and he really wants to try to get that first place finish. He's applying so much pressure, but SUNGBIN, he manages to come in first.
And that was so close right there, almost a photo finish. And for SUNGBIN, what a nice rebound after really being in position to get a podium finish in track number 1. He keeps his cool. In track number 2, he comes back, he gets a first place victory. And for a guy that oftentimes in his groups is going to be getting 1st or 2nd places in the majority of the early tracks, him coming through with a first place finish here has got to be a very comfortable spot.
Absolutely, just as you said, State, SUNGBIN really needed these points here to try to keep his hopes alive, because you have to keep in mind that here in the solos finals, it's not about being in the top 4, you have to be in the top 2. So right now, DDING and Cool and World are the only 3 players that are above 10 points, but the players below are not too far from it. So here in round 2, it doesn't really feel like anything is set in stone.
No, absolutely not. We have so much kart rider left to be raced here, but I gotta say, DDING, you know, he hasn't won any of these tracks just yet, but he keeps getting podium finishes. In track number 1, he finished in position 3. In track number 2, he barely missed the win, came in 2nd place to SUNGBIN, but that kind of consistency, the points, they add up. And so DDING right now is sitting comfortably in 1st place, as he would love to hold on to this beautiful trophy we have. Honestly, I've casted many esports leagues, and I gotta say, this is probably the cutest and most creative trophy that I've seen for any of them.
Yeah, it's a Kart Rider Drift exclusive trophy. Watching that myself, it makes me want to play Kart Rider Drift, become a pro, and win it. But today, it's going to be one player amongst these 8 who win that trophy tonight, and this is the process to get there as we move on into round number 3, chosen by SUNGBIN in Glacier Extreme Stadium. I must say, State, it is no surprise that SUNGBIN chose Glacier Extreme Stadium, because he is holding that best record right now.
Yeah, it feels like he always wins on this track, so we'll see if he can repeat that performance here in the finals when the pressure is at the highest and the skill is at the highest as well. And SUNGBIN with some really nice lines. I love these inners that he's taking. Not only is he threading the needle, avoiding collisions, but he's taking a very efficient route. Really a dangerous one, but he's so good at this track, he knows exactly how to weave it.
Absolutely, and it was DDING playing defense right there, but SUNGBIN, he manages to win on that trade, and right now he sends NEAL and DDING into the back lines.
Yeah, actually a lot of collisions right there in the middle ranks will have some players fall back. And Luning! Oh my goodness, nice that was almost disaster. Fortunately for Luning, another player collided with him, so he was able to rebound a little bit better, but he will fall all the way down to 7th place with DDING now in 8th. And now our eyes are set on JiMin, Cool, and World as they're in the top 3 here coming through lap number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Spear is also trying to contest right now. You can see Cool going for aggressive cuts there to build some of the more gauge he needs in order to pass JiMin. And we can see SUNGBIN and NEAL, they are quite far behind NEAL. He's going to take a big collision there for himself.
Yeah, and I feel like SUNGBIN, those collisions really took a lot of the wind out of his sails. So for him to be able to rebound right now and be in position 5 in draft range, I feel like over the course of the remaining lap, he should be able to find a breakaway to get into a podium position, but JiMin is looking so solid in position one, and no! I jinxed it! SUNGBIN with a collision on the wall. He falls all the way down to 6th place, and now, you know, he's out of the cards here for a top 3.
So many collisions happening right now. World took a big one as well. Now it seems like there's so much space for Spear and Cool to play a 1v1 to try to get that first place finish.
Whoa! A player falls! In fact, 2 of them do, and now it's JiMin here in first place. Will he be able to hold on to it here against World? He goes for the iron line. World with a spin turn. He went for the Hail Mary play, but in fact, it's going to be DDING who comes through with a first place finish. And my goodness, DDING, he just keeps getting better. In track number 1, he got 3rd place. In track number 2, he got 2nd. Now in track number 3, winning.
That is absolutely the best start you could ask for here in the solos. And this is why we highlighted DDING as our yellow racer, which means he's the first place racer coming in to our groups. And I feel like DDING is really starting to run off with this right now, State. And the lead, it's definitely starting to add up.
Yeah, DDING is really starting to put some insurance on the boards, and he has a 7-point lead separating him from Luning in 2nd place. SUNGBIN, although he wasn't able to, translate the map pick into a win on his track, still not very far behind.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling like DDING is on top of his form today, so that's going to be a player that we are really going to have to watch out for. But it's interesting to note that Cool, he's really fallen out of that top 2 contention ever since we got into round 2 and 3. It's really Luning and SUNGBIN right now, fighting with DDING.
All right, it looks like Mine 3 Shortcuts has been selected by DDING as the next track here. Let's see if he can keep the momentum going and come up with another win. DDING, the yellow racer, looking so good, not just in team matches, but here in solos as well, as he keeps getting better and better here in the finals. And you got to think now with Mine 3 Shortcuts as his map pick, we have 3 laps to go, and despite not the best start, I mean, this guy is so good. His mechanics are so solid. Would not be surprised to see him close the distance. And oh no, I got to stop complimenting these players. That's the 2nd track in a row where I'm like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then they fall off the track, so...
It's now fine.
Forget about that now. Our eyes are on NEAL, SUNGBIN, JiMin, and Spear.
Sorry, Thing, but you're going to have to sit out of this race, buddy.
Oh, my goodness.
Right now, we're seeing every player really just kind of like sticking to their positions right now. But now, the top 3 is going to be heavily contested. You can see JiMin. He's blocking out Spear, but he hits the wall in that process.
Yeah, it does collide with the wall right there. As there are some precarious turns right here. We'll see how aggressive these guys decide to take with their inners. It absolutely did not work for DDING his first time around on lap number 1, as Spear, SUNGBIN, and Cool have really kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack here in the top 3, now entering the final lap.
Yeah, and you can see Cool, he's already trying to take different lines and try to pass SUNGBIN, but it's not working so far because the defense from SUNGBIN has been so excellent. Also, Luning, he's trying to catch up and apply some pressure.
Yeah, SUNGBIN so good at sweeping in the team matches and now being able to flex those skills. Yeah, Cool falls off. But SUNGBIN, I mean, I feel like he is almost impenetrable right now as Luning and Spear then trying this entire time to find the inner. Spear, will he actually be able to get it? Oh, SUNGBIN cuts him off again. And now here on the straightaway, it's actually going to be Luning with the speed. The boost and the draft carries him ahead of SUNGBIN right across the finish line in a photo finish. And Luning's going to pick up his first track win here in the finals.
This group is so crazy today, State. We just finished off for round number 4 with Luning as our victor, and every single player right now, there's not a single one that has 2 wins in their pocket yet. It's been constantly traded around, and there were so many big collisions that were happening, and we can see Cool and NEAL, DDING, these players are some of those benefactors that took those collisions the hardest.
Yeah, and oftentimes on straightaways like that one too, usually the position that you have, unless there's a big discrepancy in the boost gauge, it's kind of the way that it goes. But that time, Luning just was able to time the boost out and the draft perfectly, work his way into first place. And with that victory now, he got 2nd place in the track number 3, first place in track number 4. He's leading the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy if you think about the fact that we were considering Luning as kind of like the underdog of this group because, I mean, we have so many stacked players. You have to pick one underdog, and that was Luning. But so far today, he is saying, no, I am going to finish this in top 4, if not top 2.
Yeah, Luning absolutely looking so good there on track number 4, and he's going to go for his next pick. It will be another mine track. So we're going to see if he can start to break away from the pack a little bit here in the standings on mine rickety rails.
We race off into round 5 of our solo finals and state. It seems like we're really seeing a trend right now where the winners are constantly picking tracks that they hold the best record in. This time it's Luning holding the best record in mine rickety rails.
Yeah, Luning is so comfortable here on the mine tracks, and we'll see if he's able to transfer that into a win, as there is still a lot of race left to be played here. 3 laps in total, Luning with a really nice lineup.
Yeah.
Does catch the wall a little bit here. Of course, this does happen a lot more in team, or in solo matches, I should say, than team matches, because, you know, it is a free-for-all in a sense, right?
Absolutely, and I love seeing that aggression really come out from NEAL. That's made him separate from the back line. Now he's all the way up in 5th place, and it seems like in the front, in the meanwhile, JiMin and Spear really fighting it out on SUNGBIN. He tried to win on the line there, but it's going to be Spear.
I feel like Spear, JiMin, SUNGBIN, and seeing almost every single track JiMin falls off. Almost every single track they're contesting for these podium finishes there. As JiMin now all the way in 8th place. We do have our eyes on SUNGBIN, DDING, and Spear, and DDING looking to reclaim that #1 spot here. Very close to a podium finish, entering lap number 3.
Yeah, I mean, JiMin, he just flew off into space right now, and you can see the space that's been bought for Spear and SUNGBIN. They're playing 1v1 here, and Spear had a phenomenal line.
Yeah, Spear had a really nice collision right there on SUNGBIN, just blocking him out. Eventually, SUNGBIN was able to pass, but, you know, that kind of momentum swing does slow the lead racers down a little bit. And now Luning with a fantastic line. Actually, we're able to work his way all the way up into 2nd place. Can he move into 1st?
My goodness, that line from Luning was crazy, but he's going to take a bunch of collisions there. And now you can see Spear and Cool fighting it out, and Cool with the draft in the end.
Man, this just seems to be a trend here in the solo match finals, where whoever's leading with like half a second left to go usually gets passed by a combination Nitrous and a draft who's seen it, I think, 3 times out of the first 5 tracks. And this time it's Cool coming through with his 2nd track win.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise, we must say, that out of all the players to have 2 wins in their pocket now, it's going to be Cool. Those 10 points are going to be really essential, because Cool, he's had only 9 points before this. So now, coming in at 19 points, he's going to be in that 4th place spot. Only 4 points behind now SUNGBIN in 2nd.
Yeah, but Luning has been doing so well. He's gotten podium finishes in each of the last 3 tracks, and that now has him with a +7 point lead all the way up at 30. The next closest player is sitting at 23, and if Luning can keep this up, get a couple more podium finishes, I mean, at this point, you don't even need to really be racing for rank #1. You just want to play nice, conservative, safe lines. You're almost at the halfway point here in the solo match finals. Just keep piling on the points with podium finishes. That's your ticket to the 1v1 ace match.
And that has been the strategy here for Luning so far, but our round number 5 is chosen by Cool himself, as Cool really needs some points desperately. He's going to look to try to get some here in Desert Ancient Aqueducts.
Ancient Aqueducts is Cool's map choice, but Luning is the one that holds the record on this track, so we'll see what he's able to do here. Already off to a good start in position number 2, right up there with Cool and DDING.
Whoa, we're seeing a lot of collisions into the wall early into the race, but luckily there's a lot of time here to build up the boost gauges. Cool has a phenomenal lead right now.
Yeah, these turns can be so precarious in solo match finals as collisions. I mean, they are plentiful. Collisions abound here in the finals with the pressure mounting and everyone trying to take the greediest possible line. So we'll have to watch again on lap number 2 as we go through the aqueduct stage. All the waterworks, who's able to navigate it and who's going to collide.
Yeah, speaking of collisions, Luning, he's going to clip the wall there as well, but fortunately not really anything's going to happen off of that. But keep in mind that Cool, he's really running away right now. DDING having an excellent block on Spear.
Yeah, Cool and Luning are kind of breaking away right now. Very comfortably in position number 1 and 2, and of course this is a 2-lapper, and this is a very dangerous position. Actually, Cool with a nice block right there. Good recovery after coming through with, you know, a collision on the wall. able to hold on to first place for a moment, but Luning actually able to work back his way into first.
The consistency of Luning is so unbelievable right now, State. I cannot believe it. Keep in mind, this is the first solos finals for Luning, but he's trying to keep that first place right now up against Cool.
He's doing so well, and I mean, Spear really adding a little bit of spice into the mix here in the top 3, but with that collision, it does slow down Spear and Cool, so Luning able to pad that lead a little bit here coming into the final section of this track. A lot of very narrow turns here. Collisions are precarious. They might happen as we see Cool fall all the way back down to 4th place as a result of them.
Now Ding's gonna appear in the top 4, try to put his name on the board, but really right now, it's a match between Luning and SUNGBIN. It's all about Luning trying to play defensive. SUNGBIN looking for the opportunity, but Luning!
Wow, Luning is so good, man. Does not give SUNGBIN any room to maneuver. And Luning wins his 2nd track in total, now getting a podium finish in 4 straight tracks.
Man, I feel like Luning is just having the best day of his life right now here in KDL. He is popping off with these points. You can't really stop his momentum. He's going to be our 2nd player with a second first place finish here in the solo match finals.
Yeah, and with that, we're kind of at the halfway point right now as Luning is the first player to accumulate 40 points. Now keep in mind, back at home, this is a race to 80. Once we get to 80, the top 2 racers will battle it off in a 1v1 best-of-5 match to decide who's going to be the champion here in KDL Preseason 2 and take this lovely trophy home. Right now, Luning certainly in the best spot with 40 points on the board.
I love that they keep showing that trophy. It's got to be making these players even more anxious to really win today in the solos finals, to have such a nice reward waiting for them at the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And 10 million Creed 1 doesn't hurt either, Peter.
Absolutely. You might as well buy your own trophy with that money.
Yeah, you're gonna forge it down to something else as we're gonna move on to the next track. Luning, let's see if he can keep up this insane streak of podium finishes as we move on to his choice. It's gonna be WKC Brazil Circuit.
Our round 7 of solo match finals kicks off in Luning's choice of track, but keep in mind that Cool right now, he is holding the best record here in WKC Brazil Circuit as we see him sitting in 2nd place.
Yeah, and this is a track that we often see in team matches with some creative builds, some very intense sweeping, but it plays a little bit differently here in solos, and it's got to be very dangerous too because you have sections like the one we just went through off-road where all these players have to weave through the tires to take the best possible line. But as we've seen today, there are so many potentials for collision that, you know, things can get chaotic very quickly. Everyone's going to have to keep that in mind and play very safe here.
But Cool, he's not really playing it safe so far because he's been taking such aggressive lines to maintain his first place. Finally, NEAL, it feels like we haven't seen his name in a while in the top 4, but NEAL really trying to apply pressure on Cool.
Yeah, and if NEAL wants to start a comeback here in the finals, this is the perfect time to do it, as he only has 8 points on the board in total right now. The only player that has yet to reach double digits, but now in a 1v1 against Cool, no, he's sitting onto that first place spot.
Yeah, I mean, SUNGBIN, he's the 2nd overall in the groups, but he's sitting in 5th place currently in the standings. So it's a chance for our players to try to recover some points like NEAL is doing, but Cool, he's so good at taking back that first place.
That one player with a really bad collision right there on the tires. They're going to fall all the way down to 7th or 8th place, and now Cool able to unseat NEAL for a moment, but NEAL with a really nice line on the grass actually. Loses some speed, but you know, gets efficiency for his trouble and is back again in position 1.
NEAL is trying to be the hero of this track right now because even Cool is struggling. You can see NEAL with such a tight line there. That was so clean.
And that collision took a little bit out of the wind. A little bit of the wind out of Cool's sail, but he's able to recover now, coming to the tires again. All these players able to navigate it perfectly. Only 400 meters left to go. Spear actually going to try and go for the inner, but NEAL blocks him out. Now Cool, does he have enough nitrous to pass NEAL? He does! And Cool able to take first place right under NEAL's nose.
That right there is why Cool was holding the best record. You saw Cool just sticking to a straight line there to the left side, and it forced NEAL to try to come in all of a sudden, take an aggressive left turn to go for the collision, but it was Cool who's able to win off that.
And that's going to be Cool's 3rd track win here in the solo match finals as he's starting to close the distance. Even setting a new record here for the solo match, beating his old 157.162.
Yeah, and it's good for NEAL at least that he got his second place, because now that gives him a chance at least to move on into 7th place. But Cool is really far right now, up in the 30s.
Yeah, but it's a dangerous position right now for NEAL. He's 17 points behind Cool. SUNGBIN is right up there behind him too. And that means that, NEAL, not only does he need to deliver some really big performances in the remaining tracks, but he also needs to kind of hope that some of these racers that are contesting that top 2 spot start to falter a little bit. But Cool and SUNGBIN, they've been looking so consistent. We'll see if NEAL's able to mount a comeback here as we're going to move on to track number 8. It will be one of the most technical tracks of this race, Forest Zigzag Timberland. Cool's map choice, but DDING is the racer with the best record on this track in solos. We'll see how well he's able to do. Gotta say though, World, Cool, and JiMin off to great starts.
Absolutely, and Zigzag Timberland is a track where if you manage to build yourself a lead, you can really try to run off with it. But it feels like the top 4 is heavily contested, so we're not going to really see that happen just yet. NEAL, he's falling back. Luning, a leading player of our group, all the way down in 8th place.
Yeah, this is a very dangerous one here because as we've seen in the team matches over the course of KDL Preseason 1 and Preseason 2, sweeping can be so strong because there are so many tight corners just like this one right here where players can collide as SUNGBIN is doing and taking some of the momentum away from DDING, and that can really complicate things. So I would be surprised if, World or JiMin or Cool were able to really run away with this one without a big collision behind them.
Yeah, I mean, so far World has been kind of solidifying his position in first so far. JiMin is now going to be the new rival to put a lot of pressure on that as we see the turns.
Yeah, the turns are absolutely crazy. Everyone's trying to just kind of thread the needle right here, avoid collisions that could sap their momentum, but also take the most efficient lines. And it's a very fine line you have to walk for basically all of these racers. It's cool. You see him taking that very wide outer right there on the left side of the track, kind of going on his own, and that's going to allow him to move all the way up into first place right now. Take some really tight inners here, actually able to build a bit of a lead.
Yeah, I mean, Cool has a phenomenal lead for himself right now. NEAL, he's playing catch-up, and he's applying so much pressure here with the body collisions, but Cool, he is staying cool so far, winning that line battle against NEAL.
Yeah, this 1v1 between Cool and NEAL is reminiscent of the solo match finals we had at KDL Preseason 1. We'll see if NEAL can get the best of him this time, though. It's actually SUNGBIN who comes all the way from 3rd place back into 1st, and now there's not much track left to be raced. We'll see if he can hold on to it, but it's so close here in the top heater.
Yeah, you can see Cool, he's really trying to take a different line from the rest of the players, and that allowed him to catch up back into 3rd place. A huge collision into Spear there from Cool.
Yeah, Spear able to recover quite nicely. Actually has 2 nitrous to NEAL's 1, so he does have a little bit more momentum here. We'll see if NEAL can actually hold on here as Spear. He's able to come in with that nitrous and the draft. He has enough speed. NEAL with one more boost. Will he be able to pass him? And no! Just by a hair, he falls behind Spear, and NEAL does get the podium finish along with Cool, but Spear picks up what I think is his first track win of the solo matches. Some much needed points for him.
Absolutely, that was indeed the first win for him here so far in the solos finals. And Spear, he's been a contending player in the sense that he's been sitting at about 23 points. This is going to push him to 33, which is definitely in contention for that top 2 place. So we can see right now in round 8 so far, our players are really starting to catch up. That was struggling previously. Now we have 4 players in the top, all above 30. Luning, who was running away with a huge lead in the point differentials, now he's only 2 points ahead of Cool.
Yeah, it's incredibly stacked, in fact. Only 6 points separate Luning in 1st from Spear in 4th place, and Cool and SUNGBIN, of course, desperately want to close that distance. They're happy that Luning isn't getting any more podiums after a string of 4 podium finishes in a row from track number 3 all the way through track number 6. Now in the last couple of tracks, Luning, he hasn't been performing up to snuff, and that 1st place lead, it's in jeopardy.
Yeah, we talked about how it's different here in the solos finals because you have to play for 80 points, and that means you're going to play so many more tracks, and this is where consistency is really important. You have to be able to stay focused, and so far Luning, it seems like he is losing a bit of that focus, so I hope that he's able to rebound here.
Yeah, I hope that he's able to recover because his performance earlier on from tracks 3 to 6 was so solid. As now we're going to move on to what's going to be track number 9 here in the solo match finals. It is so close between these racers. So move on to WKC Korea Circuit.
We are now here in round 9 of solo finals, and we've had so many exciting back-to-back matches so far, but it is far from over because we don't have even a single player who has reached 40 points, which would be the halfway point mark to 80. And so far in this race, Luning, he's having some of that phenomenal recovery that we talked about wanting to see from him.
Well, you say that, but we actually did have a player reach 40 points. That was Luning, but he got an 8th place finish, which is -1. So now he's trying to recover a little bit here with a nice performance on track number 9, WKC Korea Circuit. He is in first place, once again contesting with JiMin and Cool. And JiMin, I gotta say, man, he's been having a lot of these early podium contentions at the start of races, especially in lap number 1 and lap number 2. But it feels like almost every single time there's something that goes wrong for him and he falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely calling it out right now. Say Luning, he's been falling behind this group here that is really forming above his head in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And NEAL, he's really trying to play catch-up. I feel like NEAL, he's got his focus back, and he's looking really sharp right now.
Yeah, and the fact that the top 2 is so hotly contested and the race has kind of slowed down in a sense with no one above 40 points right now. You know, we're only about halfway through this, so NEAL, he does have a lot of room to start coming through with some podium finishes. He got podiums, 2nd place on the last 2 tracks, and right now sitting in, you know, contention for top 3 yet again. He could start to close that distance.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're seeing a lot of aggressive cuts here from Spear. He's getting collided off of these players, and Ding and World, they have so much space off of that. The top 5 players all colliding into each other right now.
A lot of collisions happening right now, and Ding is trying to sit on that first place spot, but NEAL able to take the tight hitter and unseat him from first place. Now only 500 meters left to go. Looking at the nitrous, it seems like NEAL does have a lot. Question is, will the drafting be enough for somebody to pass him on the outside? Not this time, as NEAL absolutely had the best nitrous gauge management right there. Coming down the end on Korea Circuit, picks up his first track win. And I gotta say, track number 7, 2nd place. Track number 8, 2nd place. Track number 9, first place here for NEAL. He's mounting a comeback.
Absolutely. NEAL is going to be finally getting above that 30-point mark off of this win, but this is just the beginning of a long journey for NEAL if he wants to try to make it into the top 2. You can see Luning, who was sitting at first in the group, he came in once again with a podium finish. A nice 5 points for himself is going to put him at 44 points.
Yeah, now it's Luning and Cool sitting in the top 2 positions. The only 2 players in this lobby so far above 40 points in cumulative score. As NEAL, although he has been performing so well these past couple of tracks, and the fans in the audience are cheering him on, it's going to be a difficult journey forward. Now, who knows how many tracks we have left to play? It could be 5, it could be 10. So
yeah.
NEAL, he's got to kind of really continue to deliver these podium finishes if he wants to close the distance from his position to position number 2.
Absolutely, but it seems like we are now ready for our round number 10 state, and it is going to be chosen by NEAL himself in Mine Winding Slopes.
Let's see if NEAL can get another podium finish on the map of his choice. Certainly a good start for him, already in top 3. And NEAL, he's played this track a lot, not just in team matches, but also in solos and in 1v1 ace matches too. NEAL does have experience on this track, and we'll see how that translates in this competitive top 8 lobby.
It is definitely translating for me right now, State, because the way NEAL is coming in with his turns, it is so aggressive, and you can tell that NEAL gonna have no problem catching up. In fact, he takes a lot of collisions there, so it's gonna set him back.
Yeah, that was a really unfortunate line, as oh man, some more
my.
collisions on everybody right before the shortcut right here on Winding Slopes, as now Spear, SUNGBIN, and Luning really starting to separate themselves, but NEAL with a really good recovery, actually able to work his way all the way back up into 4th place. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
SUNGBIN, he took a huge collision there, and now it's Spear just running off by himself. NEAL and Luning are saying, hey, wait a moment, Spear, come back.
NEAL with some more bad collisions right there. He's going to go for the wider angle and try to build some nitrous gauge to close the distance, but now you got to think that a podium finish is going to be out of the cards as Spear has basically locked in first place unless he has some rare hiccup here. World and Luning right behind him. It's really just a contention for top 3 right now with Spear. And a fantastic spot of World! Oh my goodness! I say that and then all the momentum is gone. World comes through with the first place finish. Just I'm not sure exactly what happened there to our lead racer, but World is going to be really happy with that.
Yeah, you can see it on his face there too.
That's some surprise.
The smile from World just really sets it all. That win was really unexpected for us watching it, but I feel like for World as well, because Spear, he had such a nice lead, but off that jump, it seemed like he lost so much momentum. He fell all the way back into 5th place, and World, he's going to be really happy about picking up his first place finish here.
And I got to say, man, NEAL, we saw him have 2 kind of bad collisions right there during the earlier sections of the track. He still got another podium finish despite that. It happened off screen. I don't know how he did it. I mean, this guy feels like a wizard. And with 4 straight podium finishes, NEAL has been able to work his way from, what, position 7, position 8 in the rankings, now to within spitting distance from top 2.
That's the crazy thing about NEAL. That's why he is our global superstar that you have to keep your eyes on. He is now only 3 points behind Cool and Spear in 2nd and 3rd place. And Luning is really starting to run up now. He is our first player to be above that 50-point mark.
Yeah, Luning with 2 consecutive podium finishes is starting to pile on the points again as, you know, he hit that speed bump after track number 6, but he's really regained his footing here in the later sections of this tournament. Is NEAL holding on to his adorable little stuffed animal right there, going to try and calm his nerves coming into this next track as NEAL needs another big performance to get back in the top 2 as we're going to move on to Desert Construction Chaos.
Off we go into a track chosen by World for the first time today here in the solos finals. And we are seeing World really run away with this lead right now, showing why he favored this track.
Yeah, World probably was itching to pick this one, and so he's going to be really happy to have this great start here in lap number 1. Even a sizable lead over here with Luning as he's able to zone him out a little bit, although, that slight collision on the wall does give Luning the opening he needed to work his way back into first place. But for World, the nitrous gauge, it's still very good. He's remaining in draft range. Now coming here into the upper section of Construction Chaos, it's all going to come down to these tight corners.
Yeah, I'm loving the aggression coming out from World here, trying to absolutely win these checks against Luning, who is the leader of the group. Luning has been such a consistent player throughout this whole race today so far. As you see, World and Luning, they're both opting for a safe slowdown.
Yeah, and with World kind of blocking Luning out a little bit like this, all these little tiny collisions that they're having, that gives room for Spear and Cool to start to close the distance on them. As you see now, Luning and World, their lead, it's not as comfortable as it once was. Cool and Spear, they are hot on the chase, and Cool on the straightaways, especially with 2 nitrous in the bag like he's got. Would not be surprised to see him take a line and find his way back into first.
I love what you pointed out there, Stay. Cool absolutely has a phenomenal lead right now in that boost gauge, looking for a draft of his own. It feels like World and Luning are in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Cool's just like a shark waiting in the water right now for them, waiting for his time to strike as he's keeping that nitrous gauge completely full. He's not using both of them. He's only using them one at a time and then allowing them to recharge to max. But, bad collision there on the corner there for Cool. Gonna fall down to 5th place.
Yeah, we were hyping up his nitrous gauge, but it seems like he's got to use them now to really try to catch up, because World and Luning, they are maintaining that lead here. World tried to run away with it, but Luning catches right back.
Yeah, well, World's doing a good job of keeping Luning zoned out right now, but Luning, you can see how aggressive he is. He's trying to find any inner that he possibly can. And he might not be able to get the first place finish here. We'll see on this straightaway as World's in a very comfortable spot, but a podium finish again would go a long way towards ending this race as Luning is really starting to shoot up in the points. World able to deliver a 2nd track victory in a row with a nice map pick. Obviously comfortable here on Construction Chaos.
Yeah, the momentum is really starting to build here for World in the later stages, as it did for NEAL just a few rounds ago. It feels like our players are really starting to just fight back and make sure that they have a contention for that top 2 spot, as Luning, now off of this second place finish. He's going to get 7 points for himself, putting him at a grand total of 58, meaning he's only 22 points off of closing out this race.
Yeah, so I feel like Luning at this point, he's basically booked his ticket to that top 2. I mean, it's not set in stone yet. You know, if he doesn't perform in these upcoming tracks, there is a world where Spear and Cool and Ding and, you know, World himself are able to close the distance and unseat him from a top 2 position. But for Luning right now, you got to be feeling really comfortable. You had a string of 4 straight podium finishes earlier on in the race. You just had another string of 3 straight podium finishes. You're so close to that finish line, so close of securing your ticket to that 1v1 ace match, but right behind him, it is so close between these remaining racers, so there is so much on the line for these guys as they're fighting for that spot in top 2. Let's move on to the next track, track number 12, Village Boom Hill Tunnel. World, Spear, and Cool. Only 1 point separates these 3 racers from that second-ranked position right now, so keep your eyes on them as we start the 1-lap track, Boom Hill Tunnel.
And those players that you mentioned, Stay, Cool, and Spear, having a phenomenal position right now, having a run for it against NEAL. You can see Cool there taking an incredibly aggressive line that's going to pay off and give him a nice lead.
Yeah, he's able to find the opening after the draft and then boosts right through it. That's a lot of points on the board for Cool as he's just going to continue down on this straightaway. Still contesting top 2. I feel like Cool, he's really starting to find his footing.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the footing is starting to be reached. NEAL, he is still maintaining that first place, and we know that NEAL, he has some creative builds here in the Village Boom Hill Tunnel. We will likely see him jump off the bridge and solidify this lead even further.
Yeah, he's one of the players that pioneered that move, as we'll see if he goes for it here. And in fact, he doesn't, just playing a little bit more safely. I think he just doesn't want to take the risk, but Luning, going for the gamble, is actually able to find his way into first place.
Yeah, I mean, it paid off huge there for Luning. He's going to take a huge collision for himself. So is Spear. It feels like a lot of the rankings are fluctuating. The boxes getting to the players as well.
What a traffic jam right now, but with only 300 meters left to go, I think NEAL with his boost, unless Spear is able to come through in the clutch, no. NEAL is going to be able to deliver a victory here. 10 more points on the board, as he did not get the podium finish that he wanted last time, but now he does get a track win, and he's getting closer and closer to contesting that top 2 spot. NEAL went from the bottom of the barrel here to start off this race, and now he's back, fighting for top 2.
I absolutely love the recovery from NEAL here. We were rooting him on when we saw him having that first place in the beginning portion of the race, but when he didn't take that shortcut, it felt like a lot of the lead was lost. But throughout all the collisions, NEAL, he was able to come out standing on top, now catching up to 4th place at 46 points. And keep in mind that we just finished around 12, and there hasn't been anyone who reached 80 points. So now we do reset the track list, and players are available to pick the tracks that have previously been played.
Yeah, so NEAL's going to be really happy about that with a track win, as he can pick pretty much anything that he wants. And it's a very close race right now. Luning still holding on to that #1 spot, but it's a little bit tighter than it once was.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It feels like a lot of the players are really just trading wins back and forth right now. No one able to grab so much of a momentum in such a tightly competitive group like this, but we are now ready to move into a track chosen by NEAL in Mine Winding Slopes. Off we go into round 13 of Solos Finals. Not a single player yet who has reached 60 points out of 80, so the ranks are still up for contention as we see World. He's having an incredibly aggressive start here.
Yeah, and I mean, just really quickly to talk about that, we're now 13 tracks in. Every single player except JiMin has more than 40 points on the board. We were talking about this one being a marathon coming into the solo match finals, and it really is this time. This lobby, everyone is so skilled. They're trading wins, they're trading podiums. No one's been able to run away with this thing. Luning did have the best shot, but right now he's sitting in 8th place in this one too, so expect the standings to continue to shake up.
Yeah, and World, he took a really bad collision there into the wall. That's going to kill all momentum for him, solidifying that 8th place for now. And it's DDING, SUNGBIN, and JiMin who are running away, but JiMin with a huge collision as well.
Yeah, JiMin today is just not going his way, as he often has these great starts, but then one small hiccup causes a world of problems to emerge for him, and now it's DDING, SUNGBIN, and Cool fighting for this podium spot.
Cool right now, he supplied so much pressure here. He went for the spin turn, but he collided into SUNGBIN in the process. He's gonna lose a lot of momentum, but he's catching back up.
It wasn't a perfect turn, but he was still able to navigate it quite well, and now here on the straightaway, he does have enough speed. The spin turn, it wasn't perfect, but it was enough for Cool to come in with some crazy play and get first place there ahead of DDING on the straightaway with some nice nitrous usage right there in the air. Big victory here for Cool.
Absolutely, that's going to give him 10 points, putting his points at a grand total of 54. So Cool is absolutely in contention right now for some of our top spots. Keep in mind that Luning, the rank 1 of our group, he's got 7th place. So 0 points for him means there's a lot more time for our other players to catch up to get into top 2.
Goodness, look at this, Peter. 57 for Luning, 56 for Spear, 55 for Cool. It is so close for those top 2. World's right behind him at 50. NEAL and DDING, 49 and 48 apiece. So if NEAL or DDING come through with the victory, despite being, so far down in the standings, relatively speaking, excuse me, almost choked in my words. They could be position 1 or position 2 after this next race. It is so close right now.
Absolutely. It feels like we're almost resetting the pace right now for our top 4 players, trying to get into that top 2 to have a chance to move on into that 1v1 ace match in set number 2. And it feels like whoever's going to start racking up the wins or even the podiums is really going to start to race off into 80 points as we move on into Cool's choice of track in World Tour New York Rally.
Cool with that track win, not only able to choose New York Rally as his map of choice, but also able to work his way up into 3rd place, only 2 points behind the point leader, Luning, right now in this lobby. But no, despite this being his track selection, he's sitting right down in 8th rank. Yeah,
I mean, that's not a great start from Cool, but he's holding the best record of this track as well, so we are certain that he's going to look to try to catch up later on, but for now it's JiMin having a lot of room for himself to stay in the top. One problem for JiMin is that his points are so low at 17 points, so he really needs first place back-to-backs.
I feel like JiMin, almost every single track has starts like this one where he's contesting top 3 and then something goes wrong. There's a collision, there's a hiccup, he'll like collide with a wall and just flip on it. Something always goes wrong for him, and he goes from contesting podium almost every single time to falling down to the bottom of the pack, and as a result, despite what has been a relatively impressive day for him, at least in the earlier section of all these tracks, he's sitting at only 17 points. Everybody else has more than 40.
Yeah, it has been a tragic way for JiMin to come into the solos finals today, but so far he has been maintaining that top podium spot pretty well against Cool especially. Cool actually, he's trying to run away with it, take that first place for himself.
Yeah, Cool able to consolidate right now in first place, zoning out JiMin very well, but now with NEAL and SUNGBIN also on his tail, it's gonna be really hard. He should be able to block out everybody, but Cool coming into the straightaway is able to do it. We'll see if he has just enough speed, or if NEAL on the outside with his nitrous can pass it. In fact, yes, NEAL can. NEAL, the 5th ranked racer, not only is he gonna get another track selection, but with 10 more points, he's now at 59, and he's getting closer and closer to booking his 2nd ticket in a row to the finals.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice recovery path here for NEAL. He desperately needs these points. Cool also getting a podium finish for himself is going to really help him with trying to stay competitive towards getting in that top 2 places. As we see, Luning, he came in 5th place. So finally, he's going to be tied at first place now with Cool at 60 points.
This is crazy. Cool and Luning right now tied in first place with 60 points, as you said. NEAL at 59, 1 point behind.
Yep.
NEAL almost felt dead in the water at the start of this thing. After track number 6, track number 7, he was near the bottom in points, but over the past couple of races, he's been able to get multiple victories. Since track 9, he has won 3 separate maps. He's gotten podium in at least 2 tracks more than that. So he's really started to come through in the clutch here, and he's catching fire when he needs it most.
As our fan put it, it's NEAL time. And NEAL is absolutely putting on the show for us right now. And State, it feels like NEAL being only 1 point behind, he can absolutely still make it into that top 2.
Oh, it would be a tremendous comeback performance if he was able to do it. And we're going on to his map selection as well. So if he's going to start that comeback and continue it, this is a great way to keep the ball rolling as we go to NEAL selection, WKC Brazil circuit.
We begin our 15th round of the day in the solos finals. It is Cool holding the best record here in the Brazil circuit as we see NEAL. He's really starting to run off with the lead.
Once again, NEAL just has a tremendous start. I feel like every single track, NEAL is getting these amazing beginnings. And I mean, look at the distance he's been able to create between himself and Luning and JiMin. How often do we see this on a track like WKC Brazil circuit? Almost never.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of the players, they opt to stay behind to build more boost gauge, but as you take a look at the player screens, it's only DDING having an advantage right now, so NEAL and JiMin in healthy contention of top spots.
Yeah, NEAL did slow down a little bit now, so he has to battle to reclaim that position #1 with Luning and JiMin right behind him. And for now, NEAL sitting in second place. Spear, he's been so consistent over the course of this race, sitting at 57 points right now, just shy of what he would need to get top 2. We'll have to keep our eyes on him right now, sitting in 5th place here in these standings.
Absolutely, as we see Cool, he's being aggressive as always with his lines, and he is maintaining that first place now. It feels like NEAL, he's trying to break away, he's taking the right path, and we'll see if that works out for him.
He just doesn't want to have any collisions, and so coming into this, you're able to avoid something that's inevitably going to slow you down, and wow, really getting the better end of the trade there through the tires, and then coming with a different build, going all the way on the outside, so he'll have a little bit more speed, but it seems like it didn't work out too well for him, and then, I mean, I say that, and now he's back in top 4.
Seems like the extra boost gauge is really helping out NEAL here, trying to look for the inner line here, and he's able to cut all the way into first place. Now Spear and Luning trying to catch up, but NEAL has such a nice lead.
Yeah, NEAL not only has the lead in terms of distance, but his nitrous gauge is also one of the best right now on the board, as we'll see if that's going to be enough to carry him against the drafts of Spear and Luning, who are trying desperately to close it out. NEAL able to navigate, and he has one more nitrous. That's going to be another NEAL victory going back to back. NEAL is now going to be, I'm almost certain, in first place and an instant pick on the next track. He did not need to wait to make up his mind. He is in the zone right now, Peter.
Absolutely. NEAL coming in first place is going to get the most points for himself, and that's going to allow him to catch up to the likes of Cool and Luning. In fact, Luning had a podium finish for himself as well, coming in 3rd place. That's going to be 5 points in the back for him, but not enough to stop NEAL from reaching first place in our overall standings.
Wow, 69 points now for NEAL. Luning, Cool, Spear, they're very close behind him at 65 and then 64 apiece for our rank 3 racers, and this is so close. You gotta feel like if you're SUNGBIN, World, or DDING, you know, time is running out. Who knows how many tracks you have left. With the way that NEAL is racing, it might only be a couple of them. You gotta start coming through with podium finishes if you wanna contest top 2.
Absolutely, and it feels like right now NEAL, although he can't end off our finals here off of 1 more win because he needs 11 more points, but the momentum is there, so as long as he can get a podium finish here in the track that NEAL chose himself, it is going to look good here in round 16 as we move into WKC Korea Circuit.
Just as you said, Peter, NEAL only needs 2 podium finishes to send us to that top 2 1v1 ace match, the best of 5, with the 2 best solo match racers in the world to decide who's going to be the champion. He is so close to glory right now.
Absolutely, State. It feels like NEAL, he's really found his pace here today.
And again, look at this. He's back in first place. He's battling with World and JiMin and DDING, but his builds over the course of today, especially on these WKC circuit tracks, have been so creative. They've been so good. You know, he takes the path less traveled, as Robert Frost would have said. You know, previously on Brazil, we saw him go for the much wider route. You know, not cutting through the grass in certain segments and then cutting through the grass in ways that other racers might not, and that was able to translate into a win. Now here on Korea's circuit, we'll see if he can come through with the same magic.
Feels like he is doing that right now, State. He has not been giving up this lead right now in second place. In fact, going over into first place now, and his competitor, Luning and Cool, it feels like they're catching right back up, trying to get out of that middle section.
Yeah, but keep your eye on the nitrous gauge for NEAL, as oftentimes while he's sitting in first place, he's doing it with 2 nitrous in the bag, so he does have a counterplay should he get unseated, just like this. Even right now, sitting on 2 nitrous is NEAL, so watch him to come through with a boost and with a draft when he needs it most in a turn.
Absolutely, Luning, he is leading the pack right now here, but NEAL, as you said, State, he has such a nice lead for himself in the booster gauge that he can just control when he wants to catch up. Luning, in fact, is going to go for the outer line there, and it's going to propel him into the first place.
It's very close right now. NEAL still holding on to first place in the twilight of this track. Luning and SUNGBIN are trying to slow him down. NEAL now going for the outer and then back right in with the inner. Still 1 nitrous in the bag for NEAL, but Luning's doing a great job of holding on to position number 1. Will NEAL be able to pass him? Once again, he is blocked on the outside. And now here on the straightaway, you got to think that Luning's going to be walking away with this one. And yes, he does. NEAL, he might not get the podium finish, but in rank 4, he does get 4 points in total. So still, you know, we might only have 1 more track in the cards, despite Luning emerging victorious there.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that Luning, off of that 10 points being gained, he is now at 75 points. So he's only 5 points away from 80, meaning if Luning gets a 3rd place finish or higher in our next round, that is going to be it to our race. So a really needed ending here for Luning here in round 16.
Yeah, Luning has gotten so many podium finishes today. I think I want to say more than anybody, as it feels like he hasn't won too many tracks, but he's always contesting top 3. Of course, able to come through with a victory on that one. And now it's so close. We might only have 1 more track left to be played. And with how hotly contested it is in the top 3, there are multiple racers who could finish with a victory and get 80 points. This track is going to be pivotal. The top 2 are going to be decided potentially right here.
Absolutely, State, just as you put it. It's all up to Luning, NEAL, and Cool. If any of them get those 10 points, it is going to be our final track, our next round here. And that next round, in fact, is picked by Luning, so we'll have to see if that advantage pays off here in World Tour Rio de Janeiro. Off we go into our 17th round of the solo finals as our players enter off of their paragliders, and we're seeing Luning having a phenomenal lead.
Yeah, Luning's off to a good start, and honestly, I feel like this might be the last track of the 80-point stage here, and the top 2 will be decided, given how close Luning, NEAL, and Cool are. A victory for any of these racers will send us into that top 2 finish. And guys, keep in mind, right now, Luning sitting at 75 points, NEAL at 73, Cool at 71. Every position matters.
Absolutely, Luning, he just needs to get 3rd place or higher, and he is in 4th place right now. Absolutely looking to close it off here in this round, but he is falling behind because we have so many players up in the top competing. Cool in 1st place right now.
Yeah, Cool is trying to fight back, trying to get his name back in discussions for this one. He's sitting in 3rd place overall. Of course, a Cool victory would also send us above 80 points in total, and Cool would secure his ticket to that top 2 Ace Match finals. As now coming through onto the Raptors right now. World is in 1st place.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we can see World really trying to deny Cool from getting that 1st place finish, but Luning, he is looking for a high place finish, but he falls back into 5th place.
Cool does get 2nd place, but that means he's only at 78. So if I'm not mistaken, I think we still have 1 track left to be raced. That was so close. We had Cool, NEAL, and Luning all get so close to sending us home. Instead, we're going to have 3 different players that are right on the cusp of 80 points, and the pressure for these 3 guys has to be so high right now. 78 for Luning, 78 for Cool, 77 for NEAL. Only 1 point separates the top 3, and Spear also with a victory could get 80 points.
Absolutely, it's getting even closer, which is crazy, State, but we must say, I feel like Cool honestly might be feeling, why World? You're all the way down in 51 points. You gain 10 points off that. You're still nowhere near contention. Why did you have to take my first place? Cool was so close.
Yeah, Cool's a little bit frustrated there, but you know, these guys, they are gamers, man. They're playing for that first place. Regardless of where they are in the standings, everyone wants to come through with the best possible performance for themselves, for their fans, for their teams, for their coaches, and gain some more confidence here. But now the moment of truth is upon us with the standings so close, especially for the top 3 racers. Luning, Cool, and NEAL. It feels like 2 of these 3 guys are going to be heading to that 1v1 ace match very soon. There is still a world where Spear might be able to make it, but I think the different possibilities, they end there, and it would take a miracle for Spear to qualify, as we're going to move on to the next track, perhaps the final track of the 80-point circuit. It'll be Desert Construction Chaos. Luning, Cool, and NEAL. These are the 3 racers you need to keep your eyes on because every position matters for these guys. Only 1 point separating them from first and second place.
Yeah, absolutely. Luning, Cool, and NEAL, they only need a 5th place finish or higher to be above 80 points. So keep your eyes on that. Whereas Spear, he needs to be the first place no matter what.
And whoever is leading the pack among those 3, should this one end now, is going to be booking their ticket to that final. So NEAL, right now sitting in 4th place, he would love to work his way back into a podium position.
Absolutely. You can see Luning, he's really sitting far behind right now. It's only NEAL who is in the top 5 to really try to finish off this race, but NEAL falls back.
Yeah, he went for a very conservative turn there. Did not want to get hung up on the corner and has to pay the price for that, actually falling all the way down to 7th place. But Cool also and down Luning in 8th, the other player contesting with him. Luning right now is in such a great position in top 4. Keep in mind, he's battling right now against NEAL and Cool above everybody else.
Absolutely, Luning just needs to maintain this top 5. He doesn't even need to grieve to try to get into the top 3, as we see NEAL also making a run for it. As long as NEAL can stay above Cool, he can punch his ticket potentially into 2nd place.
And now with NEAL getting closer and closer, he's right on Luning's tail. Cool sitting all the way down in 8th place, has to make something happen to enter the conversation right now. Otherwise, it's going to be NEAL and Luning heading to the finals.
Absolutely, it's the rivalry match happening right here, but NEAL, he's trying to break away from Luning and try to make it into the top 4. Those collisions open up so much space for NEAL to get into 2nd place.
Yeah, NEAL's really solidified his position right now with not a lot of traffic between him and being in 1st place. Cool has been able to work his way up as well now in 6th place right behind Luning. Keep in mind, those 2 are tied at 78 points apiece, so whoever leads between them, should NEAL finish this one with the points that it looks like he's going to get, the leader is going to be the one who walks away with the victory. Now Cool falls all the way down to 8th place.
That is going to be so huge for Cool here, as NEAL, he's looking to run away right now with this humongous lead in 1st place, and he seems like he's going to finalize that 1st place finish, as we see Cool coming in 7th, and Luning, he comes in 6th.
So NEAL, he's able to book his ticket back to the 1v1 ace match, another guaranteed top 2 performance for the global player here in the KDL. Back to back he goes, and if my arithmetic is correct, I think he will be joined by Luning. We'll wait to see the standings to get the confirmation on that one, but NEAL with an incredible comeback performance here in the solo matches. And yes, as you see right there, by 1 point, Luning is going to be going into that 1v1 match against NEAL.
Man, by 1 point, State, as you said, that is such a small difference, but in the end, it just matters that you're in top 2. So Luning is going to be absolutely happy about making it into the finals with NEAL here. And what a finish for our Dark Horse player. We pointed out Luning as the player the most unlikely to win tonight, just because this is his first ever solos finals, but he is here to say, no, I'm gonna start and build my legacy here in KDL.
His team was not able to make it to the team match finals, and in the introductions here today, he gave them a shout out. He said, guys, I hope you're watching at home. I hope you're cheering for me. Watch, I'm gonna do you proud here in the solo match finals. And indeed he did. The 8th place Dark Horse, the 8th seed, I should say, coming into the solo match finals, the most stacked solo match finals we've had here in the KDL, and he's able to get second place. I know Wolf right now at home is beaming because of this result, and it's going to be a 1v1 between NEAL and Luning. We might have our first global victor here in the solo match finals.
I told you, Stay, before the broadcast, I met Luning in the bathroom and I told him, good luck today. And Luning was like, yep, thank you. And he was just so focused that I knew he's not nervous at all. And that's what really pays off. He's able to beat a player like Cool. We might have seen a rematch of the preseason 1 solos finals between NEAL and Cool, but no, Luning with that 1 point, he's able to earn that chance to go against NEAL.
And I gotta say, the performance from NEAL was so fantastic over the course of this solo match finals. In what was truly a marathon, we had 4 different players get past 75 points. I feel like this is pretty much the maximum amount of tracks that you can get here in a solo match finals before heading into the 1v1 ace match. I mean, maybe you can squeeze out 1 or 2 more, say if JiMin comes away with a couple of victories, but we really got our money's worth so far with that top 8. And for NEAL, he really made it work too, because, you know, coming through the first section of that, he didn't have a lot of points on the board, but able to come through with podium after podium after podium, track win after track win, secures that first place spot.
Yeah, you pointed out some pivotal moments today. The reason why we were able to have such a long round here in the solos finals. It is exactly because our players kept shifting momentum between each other. At one point, it might have been NEAL, sometimes it was Cool, but they kept exchanging the podium finishes that made it this close.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think it's the 2 guys that got the most podium finishes that booked their ticket to that top 2. It's going to be NEAL and Luning. So that's going to be an absolutely incredible match, a 1v1, effectively a best-of-5 ace match to decide who's going to be the champion here today. And I could not be more excited to get into that, Peter.
Yeah, hearing you say that it's a best of 5, it just already makes me excited because of how close it's going to be. When you think of like a best of 3, it feels like it may go very fast, but a best of 5, it's going to be neck and neck, especially between 2 players here today. NEAL, his career backs him up, and for Luning, his performance today is what speaks for himself.
Yeah, NEAL, a champion on the global stage, a champion on the Korean stage, hasn't gotten that KDL victory just yet. And I know that this is the preseason. It's not going to go down into the history books, but you still have to say it matters. Everyone here today, they're competing for that first place prize. There's a lot of money on the line. There is pride on the line. Everyone wants to do their fans proud. And NEAL, you know, it would be a wondrous victory for him to be able to come through here in the final KDL preseason before the regular season and be like, you know what, us global players, we still got it. But then again, you know, the dark horse, Luning, he's also looking so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it really becomes hard to really predict who's going to win because that dark horse factor is just looming over our head.
Guys, when we get back, we're going to have that 1v1 best-of-5 ace match to decide the champion from KDL Preseason 2. We'll see you then.
your mind. Baby, let me take you on a ride. Let me take you on a ride. Yeah. That twinkle in the sky reminds me of your beautiful smile. I can't get enough.
일단 손목 걸게. 점수 손목 걸게. 나는 승관 삭발 걸게.
영원아 이 자리에 있으니까
감동.
아주 이상하다 느낌.
감동된 것 같아 저 형.
좀 든든해? 응. 감독 겸 선수. 응. 멋있다.
아, 오늘부터 아시다시피 뱀픽이 라이브입니다.
사빙이야 스코링. 사빙 아니면 아이경 스코링. 아이경 할 것 같아.
사빙이야.
아이경이야.
사빙이야.
아 오히려 강섭지. 오.
아 나라니까 애초에 차부터가 다르잖아.
그러니까 눈썰미가 없어서 어떻게 게임을 하려고. 진짜 어이가 없네. 강삼집이란다.
아니야. 베닐주 벤이야.
아 봐봐. 아 눈썰미가 없어서 선수를 하겠나.
말을 못하고.
지금 오히려 조커가 앞순위에 있는 거는 나쁘지 않다고 보거든요. 이렇게 뒤에서만 흔들어주면.
꼬이게 해놨다 지 봐봐.
이게 나야?
말 꼬이게 해놨어 봐봐.
나이스. 팔은 죽었어. 씻고야겠다.
두 번째 점프대에서 이를 잡고 틀어막는다거든요. 이거. 잘 따라가긴 해요, 진짜.
떨어졌어?
걔 좋았어.
뒤에 늑대?
어떻게 하죠?
나이스. 나도 스위터?
오동 나이스. 그냥 확실히 그냥 주행하다 보면은 얘네랑 체급 차이가 너무 많이 나가지고.
맞아. 진짜
그냥 솔직히 1점 따기도 지금 힘들어. 체급 차이 너무 많이 나서. 아이템전을 우리가 역으로 찍어 누르자.
이게 챙겨놓을게. 공이 좋았어.
이게 미사일.
남아왔어.
미사일 모을 수 있으면 모으자. 이거 잠깐만.
1미.
아 모으자고 좀.
아 오케이. 들리면 해도 돼? 스파야? 죽었어? 하자. 모르겠어. 아.
빨렸어.
앞에 거리는 안 나와. 오케이 오케이. 계속 갈만해.
보잖아.
하나씩 줘봐.
보잖아 더. 계속 맞아 계속 맞아. 앞에 있어.
얘 밟았다 이거.
앞에 있어 얘들아. 봐봐.
천천히. 오케이 이제 먼저 물 조심. 내가
땡겼어?
땡길게. 내가 땡겼어.
1등 하나 1등 하나.
형 이겨. 밀어줄게. 나이스. 형 나 콜 진짜.
아 이거 그 전에 빠져 샀어야 된다. 파리 번개.
조절할 타이밍이 왔거든요. 드래프트 타이밍을. 저 더하려고 하겠죠. 또 있어요 뒤에.
완전 뚫었고요. 뒤.
뒤에 발리가 나오거든요. 자 그런데 뭐 뒤에 걸려야 되는데요. 거리가.
자 상대 이제 광고 간다. 자 봐라 광고.
광삼지예요 광삼지.
광고야. 광고 봐라.
권섭지.
광고라고.
권섭지.
광고라고.
광고 절대 안 해.
사빙 픽하겠습니다.
맛있다. 오히려 공장 할 수도 있어요 제가.
유혹한다니까 유혹.
뉴욕한다니까.
브라질.
아 이러면 뉴욕이야. 브라질 아니야 뉴욕이야. 봐라.
폼밀.
브라질이야.
뉴욕에 달다 손목 걸게.
나 브라질이다 병수 손목 걸게.
나는 승아 삭발 걸게.
아 맞다니까. 아니 진짜 뻔하다고 진짜 뻔하다고.
야 누가 내 손목 걸지 않았냐? 선수가 내 손목 걸었는데.
떨리는 사람. 긴장되는 사람.
나 딱히 긴장한.
형이 제일 긴장될 때? 내가 제일 긴장돼. 펠리즈 긴장했죠. 펠리즈 긴장했죠.
긴장 풀고 해요.
오케이. 얘들아 4선이니까 게임 기니까 여유롭게 그냥 저도 뭐 한두 판 진다고 뭐 큰일 나는 거 아니니까 4선이니까 사람
같이 갈게. 우리 갈게.
나이스 참
나가자.
할때 말았어.
나 아웃 할게.
말았어. 뚫었어.
나이스.
10개 탈게.
이 3위를 어쨌든 먹었습니다.
가요?
오케이.
한번 긁었다.
괜찮아
일단 200만 해봐.
일어났고.
자, 끝까지.
조금 빌드가 꼬였지만 뒤쪽에서 역전이 나오는지 봐야 됩니다.
밀렸다.
까비.
아 일세.
이거 봤어? 아니 나 일부러
차례
꺼가지고 죽여버렸어.
아 연습 들었다. 일단 내가 미리 걸어줄게. 잠깐만 걸었어.
사이드. 됐다.
이득이야.
맞아. 내가 생각한. 물가 하나 잡았어.
오케이.
나물 버릴게. 나도 물 버릴게.
나 미끼야. 나 미사일.
사리와. 미끼래.
하나 해봐.
나 맞지 하나 했지만 나 맞지 않았어.
다 맞아.
포기할게.
정작 그냥 가.
할게.
포기했어.
맞아.
1파 줬어. 맞아. 그냥 가. 그냥 가.
파리.
이미 맞아.
그냥 가.
진짜 빨리 살. 빨리.
진짜 없다고 미안한데. 진짜 없다고 미안한데. 이 아무것도 없다고. 거기 다 맞았다고.
현수가 올 거예요. 관계대 맞아가면서 현수가 들어갑니다. 자 오늘 이제 준비된 경기는 팀전 플레이오프가 기다리고 있어요.
명재 컨디션 좋아 오늘?
난 항상 좋아.
이요.
팀의 모습을 보여줘야겠고요.
돌려.
돌리자.
진건이 어딨어?
아 이거 아니잖아.
사악한데?
얘들아 뒤에 없고 오늘 과감하게 하고 오자.
네.
마음보다 뛰고. 파이팅.
아니.
선두권의 속도를 약간 줄여주는 몸싸움을 띵이 해줘야 될 것 같습니다.
막았다. 그냥 가봐. 살려봐봐. 막았어.
내가 해줄게. 가봐.
해본다. 일단 7, 8 찍어놨어. 준현이 형 나 그랬거리. 총해놔. 오케이. 7, 8 고정. 고정이래. 이름만 해.
성민이 1위 그대로 들어옵니다. 2, 3위로는 부족합니다. 락스.
나이스 1등. 나이스. 잘했다. 7, 8 잘했다.
내가 오늘 컨디션이 괜찮아. 잘렸다. 미안. 괜찮아.
아이템 이겨줘.
알았어.
한명 달려 우리.
생미 하나 줬어.
빨리 살아있다.
괜찮아. 빼줬어.
나좀 아파.
뺄게.
오케이. 다이 풀어야 돼.
다이 할게 지금.
해봐. 위에
셋.
맞다.
1대
맞으면
빼고 다 맞아. 나 좀 많이 걸려. 1비 하나 할게.
내봐 같이 하자.
딴 거다.
1대1이 맞아. 1미 하나 더 할게.
짜라 먼저.
1미 사가졌어. 1미 안 맞아.
발이 깔려있어.
알았어.
맞아 뒤에.
페이지 들어갔어.
한 개만 쳐줄게.
천천.
이제 막고 있어.
일단 내가 걸게.
나 미사일 그냥 가봐. 나갔어. 페이지 빨린 거.
일매하죠 월드가 들어갑니다.
나이스. 오케이. 나이스. 다행이다. 아 내가
까비.
팔이 안 해. 팔이 안 해.
Welcome back to the solo match finals. We just watched NEAL and Luning punch their tickets into the 1v1 best-of-5 ace match. That's going to decide who gets first and who gets second here in KDL Preseason 2.
The build-up to get here was so exciting, State, and now it feels like we have the final cherry on top to really prepare us for that champion of the solos in Preseason 2.
Yeah, I mean, ace matches, they're the best part of team matches. Let's be real. The 1v1 when everything comes on the line, they're the best part of that. And then here in solos, you know, we battled through dozens of players, and finally we're down from 8 players today to 2 players and a couple more lobbies. And it's only 3 track wins away for either of these guys to become a champion here in KDL Preseason 2. And although it will not go down in the history books as, you know, a regular season championship, there's still so much pride on the line. We've got that trophy, that beautiful creative trophy that we keep going to on stage, which almost looks like a cake or something, man. It's so adorable. It's like one of those things you like carve into and get some snacks out of. Yep. And I guarantee you both these guys want it so bad. And the storyline for me really is with NEAL in particular, KDL Preseason 1, he suffered a little bit in ace matches for Live Sandbox. And you can kind of see that translate into his performance in the ace matches and the KDL solo match finals that season. He lost 3-0 and what was a very clean sweep, listening to a Guangdong Freaks player. Here in KDL Preseason 2, it seems like he's doing a lot better in the solo matches, or I should say the ace matches overall so far here when it comes to team matches, and he's kind of gotten over the hump in 1v1s, and I'm curious to see whether that's going to carry over from his team match ace experience into the 1v1 ace match in solos here against Luning.
It absolutely should carry over, State, because as we take a look at the season results for NEAL, he has been a pivotal part of the success of Live Sandbox, representing his team through the ace matches, gathering so many wins, and now coming against his opponent here today, Luning, and NEAL just needs to represent himself only today. There's no pressure on the line for this guy, whereas for Luning, you have to assume there's some pressure because it's the first time for Luning that he's made it to the finals of the finals.
Yeah, first time here on this stage for Luning as he seems deep in his thoughts right now. You gotta know that his fans are watching. All the fans of Team Aura are cheering on Luning right now to do his team proud. Of course, unable to make it to the postseason was Team Aura. So his teammates all watching from home, his fans, his coaches, all either in attendance now or tuning in around the world, and they would love a big performance here from Luning. As it looks like, Peter, we are getting ready to go into track number 1. This is NEAL selection as the higher seed. The best-of-5 ace match to determine the champion starts now on Glacier Extreme Stadium. Five tracks to decide who is going to be the solo match champion here in KDL Preseason 2. NEAL versus Luning. NEAL had an incredible performance over the 80-point marathon, going from a dismal start to a comeback victory all the way back in the first seed, coming up against the dark horse Luning from Team Aura. And wow, a big collision from NEAL here to start things off. That is so much momentum loss. You see him instantly doing cut drifts to try and build up that nitro gauge. Now, Peter, if you're Luning, you just want to play your safe build.
Absolutely. Luning, he's having all the pressure taken off his shoulders right away here in round 1, which is going to be huge because now NEAL, all the pressure is on that side, looking to try to catch up. No draft distance is possible unless NEAL can really start to catch up.
Yeah, and we'll see exactly how these players decide to take those hairpin turns. It seemed like Luning a little bit more conservative, NEAL a little bit more daring, and so that distance from cart to cart has gone to about 54 meters between the two of them. NEAL a little bit higher in boost gauge. He's trying desperately to close the distance right now on Luning.
I mean, if NEAL can catch up, that's going to be the comeback of the century because in ace matches, it feels like if you fall behind this big, it's really hard to recover. We haven't seen it here yet here in KDL Preseason 2, so NEAL looking to be the first one to make it happen.
He's getting closer and closer now on the same screen. And NEAL, oh, he clips the wall again. He was so close. He wanted to take one more greedy line, but he clips the rocks. And man, going from almost being in draft distance to now 100 meters from cart number 1, you got to think that Luning, unless he makes a critical mistake, is going to have the first track in the bag.
Absolutely. These are the turns where we are expecting a potential mistake to happen, but Luning, so far, he is just cruising by with 0 mistakes as Luning, he's going to finalize this one last jump for his ticket into first place.
Yeah, Luning gonna win track number 1 here on NEAL's map selection, and from here on out in this best of 5 finals, NEAL, of course, with those 89 points, leading the pack in the solo match top 8. He got the first track pick, but now it's winner's pick, loser's pick, excuse me. I don't know why I keep getting confused. So NEAL is going to be able to pick the next track right now, and hopefully he'll be able to find something that he can start a comeback on, because that was really not the performance we expected to see from NEAL. You know, it kind of reminded me in KDL Preseason 1, NEAL in some of those ace matches, specifically on some mining tracks, you know, coming through dangerous corridors, clipping walls, clipping posts, and losing all momentum. And it seemed like that, you know, coming into this one, he had gotten over that hump in 1v1, and he had cleared his mind and gotten to a better game state where he can actually just enter the game, play his builds, play his best lines. But once again here, he is faltering in the 1v1 section of the solo match.
Yeah, I feel like this is such a huge moment here, a momentum swing for Luning, because you have to imagine that Luning was the player that was going to be more nervous coming into this 1v1 finals. But with that win in the bag, I feel like for Luning, a lot of that pressure has been taken off. Now, Luning knows that as long as he plays his best game, he actually has a chance to win this because he won the first round already.
Yeah, and we'll see if he can double down and win round number 2 as we're getting ready to go to NEAL's second track pick. It's going to be WKC Brazil Circuit.
NEAL's second choice of track here in the solos final starts here in WKC Brazil Circuit, as we see NEAL opting for the right portion of the track, and he's built a phenomenal lead for himself.
Yeah, that was a really nice beginning, but ooh, Luning closing the distance, and then NEAL with a big collision right there, actually going for the second one, able to body block Luning yet again. So a lot of hotly contested battles, and now it's Luning going for the outside build. He will have more momentum coming around this corner, especially with the draft.
Absolutely, we can see the players are neck to neck right now, but keep in mind that NEAL has such a large advantage in the boost gauge. So NEAL, he has the control over this 1v1 matchup so far. You can see NEAL, he's not too concerned. Actually, he's gaining a nice block there as well.
And NEAL is just consistently staying one boost ahead right now, which is perfect. It means that if Luning is somehow able to find an opening, NEAL can combine one extra boost with a draft to pass him yet again. As we'll see now,
nice
NEAL,
line.
NEAL going for a little bit of a different build here from Luning. We'll see how that pays off, as now on this straightaway, NEAL, that nitrous gauge, it's not as much of a lead as it once was, and now it's Luning trying to body block him out.
Absolutely, the line coming in from Luning was a huge turnaround, and now it's NEAL versus Luning here on our second lap, and Luning, he wants to build that lead to make it so that NEAL cannot draft.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what the builds are here as we come in. Okay, both players going to take the grass. On lap number 1, Luning did go for the outside line, but this time wants to hold on here against NEAL. Does not want to give him an opportunity to pass, even in the short term. And NEAL, you know, he is in drafting position, so you might be looking at this and seeing him in rank number 2, but if you combine that with a nitrous, as his nitrous gauge once again is superior to Luning's, there is room for a play in the final sections of this track.
But look how well Luning.
Man.
My goodness, Luning was matching NEAL so well there, but NEAL came back with a punch of his own. Now having such a phenomenal lead, and you look at the booster gauge, Luning returning his line, and he's taking such an aggressive turn right here.
Oh, and Luning has one more nitrous here on the straightaway, so even with a draft, NEAL is not going to be able to pass him. As Luning in the final sections there had a great turn, was able to block out NEAL. NEAL lost so much momentum, and despite having the advantage in the boost gauge for the majority of that race, Luning is now on match point. One track win away from being the victor here in the solo match of KDL Preseason 2.
This is a deja vu moment right now for NEAL State. It happened in Preseason 1 Speed Mode Solos Finals where NEAL, he lost 0-3 to Ghoul, and it feels like Luning is trying to make that repeat. So NEAL, all the pressure is on him now. He needs to win 3 rounds consecutively to win this ace match versus Luning.
Yeah, it is a little bit scary. I'm getting flashbacks to that KDL 1 preseason solo match finals, and for NEAL now the pressure is on. Against Cool, you lost 3 tracks, you won none. Now here against Luning, you've lost the first 2 tracks, 0-5 on this stage. In the ace match section of the solo match finals, the next match choice from NEAL gonna be decided here in a moment. What will it be? I mean, so much pressure is on here. You gotta think also this is the last chance you will have to pick a track in this final set.
It's only been NEAL's choices so far in both round 1 and 2, and now into round 3 as well. The mind game is kind of digging into NEAL right now because he's lost on 2 of his own selected tracks. So hopefully he's able to win now on this 3rd track, chosen by NEAL himself in World Tour New York Rally.
Match point here in the KDL Preseason 2 solo match finals. Luning leading 2-0 in this best of 5. Ace show match against NEAL, and once again off to a fantastic start, Peter.
Absolutely, it feels like these two constantly going forward to different lines and
Whoa.
builds. And you can see for NEAL there, that was gonna build a lot more nitrous gauge for him. Once again, opting for the wider path, but he does collide into the wall.
Yeah, just a minor collision there. He remains within draft range, only loses a little tiny bit of momentum, and now coming into this turn, he takes the wider angle, but he does have a little bit more speed through that corner than Luning. But keep in mind, World Tour New York Rally, a very short track. NEAL's going to have to remain in striking distance, and now look at this build coming down through the lower section.
The NEAL build is absolutely showing up today, but it feels like Luning has such a big lead, especially in the boost gauge right now. So NEAL, he has a lot of catch-up to do here.
Yeah, Luning's nitrous gauge is so good right now. He's staying about a half a nitrous ahead of NEAL.
Yeah,
you gotta think that NEAL, he's gonna have to try and find a combination of a draft and a boost to be able to pass him. A little bit of some precarious turns there for NEAL. He is able to work his way back into first place now with a small boost. Gauge advantage for NEAL. Will he be able to hold on to it here in these final turns?
The NEAL build is really paying off right now. All NEAL needs to do is not allow Luning to go for the aggressive line here and try to beat out NEAL. As we see NEAL, he has a phenomenal position.
Yeah, NEAL's position really good. Luning does have one more nitrous though. Okay, NEAL finally does get that second nitrous. But here on the straightaway, will Luning have enough speed? It feels like, no, barely not. NEAL lives on to fight another day, and a little bit of a smirk there from NEAL, who is normally emotionless on his face. He does have that poker face on stage, but that was maybe a little bit too close for comfort, even for him.
And even for me.
Yeah.
It felt like Luning might just come in first there and end it off 3-0 against, delivering another painful memory to NEAL, but no, NEAL doesn't want that to repeat. Now, he puts a point on the board. It's 1-2 right now between NEAL and Luning. So it's still match point for Luning, but maybe the momentum is here now.
It's gonna be match point all the way through this one as Luning, there are 2 tracks left to be played. He only needs to win one of them to become the champion here in KDL Preseason 2. And, you know, from here on out, you know, NEAL being the higher seed, he got the first track pick in terms of map. He got the second track pick because he lost. And now he doesn't really get any more picks. If there's going to be a loss, it's going to be Luning for this thing to continue on, and that means that Luning is going to be able to choose round number 4 and round number 5 track.
Absolutely. Luning getting the first ever track of his own choice here in the finals of the solo ace match. As it seems, Luning's already decided on Mine Rickety Rails for round number 4 between Luning and NEAL. Let's get right into it. Off we go in round number 4. NEAL, he's desperately trying to cling on and try to bring us to the final round. And it seems like Luning, he's gonna just race off here with a phenomenal start on his boost gauge.
Yeah, Luning does have a nice start, but NEAL actually able to work out the nitrous gauge advantage here coming into this one. Just a little bit ahead of tempo compared to Luning. Now here on this straightaway, got to be very careful in this turn. We have seen players falter there before, but both players able to navigate it successfully.
Absolutely, it feels like NEAL, he is forced to play catch up here once again, but NEAL does have a slight advantage in the nitrous gauge, so NEAL does have a better control over this matchup right now. Luning taking a big collision for himself.
Yeah, Luning clipping the wall just a little bit there is going to lose some momentum. We're going to try and close the distance now here against NEAL, but NEAL so good on rickety rails. He loves this track. He plays it a ton. A lot of experience both in team match and in solos on rickety rails. And right now, kind of consolidating his position in rank number 1. Luning's going to have to go for some dangerous angles here to try to pass him.
Absolutely. Luning is able to close that gap so much right now between himself and NEAL, actually now going into first place. But keep in mind that NEAL, he's no stranger to catching right back up.
No, NEAL is a tenacious one, and he's able to hold on to position 1 for just a moment here as, man, they just keep cutting each other off turn after turn after turn. But here, this is lap number 3, so it's going to come down to these final moments. Both players right now with full nitrous gauges. Luning using his a little bit further ahead than NEAL, and now NEAL's going to try and find the outer line. He does! He finds it! And now with the equal nitrous, you got to think that on this straightaway. Oh no! The draft coming in from Luning! He will be the solo match champion here in KDL Preseason 2, passing NEAL by a hair in the final possible moment on Mine Rickety Rails. Luning with a 3-1 victory over the global superstar. He gives a fist pump to the camera, and I guarantee you his teammates back at home, they are so happy with his performance from him. I mean, their speed ace coming through in spades. I can feel, you know, the technics coming off right there in the main stage, vibrating through my feed is, oh, what a performance out of Luning. We even thought right there on track number 4, we're going to go to a track number 5 with how well NEAL was racing, but Luning was able to find the perfect line to become a champion.
Absolutely, such a well-deserved victory here for Luning. And we were talking about him as a dark horse player, but now with this win in the bag, he is the champion. You can see him just savoring his trophy right now.
Yeah, I could see he wanted to pick it up and maybe do like the kissing ceremony that these pro gamers often do. He's like, wait, how do I, okay, he's confident enough now, he's got it. Lifted it off the podium, and a well-deserved win for the number 8 seed here in the solo match, coming through and upsetting absolutely everybody. He got podium finish after podium finish to book his ticket into the top 2, and then he delivered in 1v1s against one of the best players in the world.
Absolutely, Luning. He must be on cloud 9 right now. You can see him really starting to finally let out those breaths of reliefs that he desperately needed, because it felt like against NEAL, he hasn't really had that chance. He had to stay focused the whole entire time, especially when he lost that round 3. I feel like his heart must have dropped, and then in round 4, it was so close. It was a draft from Luning that was able to pull off a comeback.
Yeah, and even with that draft, it was just barely ahead of NEAL. It was the closest thing in the world. We were so close to going to a track number 5, but I gotta say, that was just a better performance coming out of Luning. You know, NEAL, he did have that one hiccup in track number 1 in the very first lap, which kind of completely wrote him off from being able to make a comeback. But in track number 2, track number 3, it just felt like Luning was playing so well. You know, NEAL eventually was able to survive there in track number 3 to continue the fight on, but Luning, he made every single race incredibly close and was able to finally secure that 3-1 victory with one of the clutchest draft wins that I have seen in KDL Aces. I mean, that was just incredible.
Absolutely. I honestly thought that NEAL had round 4 in the bag for him, because it felt like he had such a nice position as well. Not just the lead, he was ready to block out Luning, but Luning, he took a right path, and the draft combined with the nitrous, it was just barely enough, and that must be one of the best ways to earn yourself a champion title.
Yeah, we knew the draft and the nitrous combination was going to be coming there from Luning, but you know, it was so close that we weren't even sure whether he would be able to get that first place finish from him, but indeed he did. He survived the top 8, 1 point ahead of Cool, 3 points ahead of Spear, just by the skin of his teeth. He makes it into the top 2 as the number 8 seed here in the solo match finals of KDL Preseason 2. And then he goes against one player that was absolutely on fire. It felt like NEAL was getting podium almost every single track. The latter half of the top 8, he was winning track after track after track as well. And so for Luning to then come in and steal all of that momentum from his opponent in the 1v1 best-of-5 ace match, it's just at a loss for words. Luning played this so unbelievably well.
Absolutely. We talked about it before the broadcast tape. We were like, if NEAL and Luning fights each other, Luning definitely has the potential to win because of his form today. But NEAL, his career behind him was too great for us to doubt NEAL. But it's Luning who proves us wrong today and shows that on his first time ever to the finals of the solo match, he can win.
Absolutely he can. And I mean, what a gutsy performance out of him in his first ever solo match victory here. And that's got to be feeling so good for him. And this is a nice little cherry on the top of the season for Team Aura as well. They did not qualify for the playoffs the same way they did in KDL Preseason 1. They were just shy of that here in KDL Preseason 2. But hey, Luning came through for them in the clutch here in the solo matches and did them proud.
Absolutely, he's going to be exchanging a lot of fist bumps once he gets back to his team house. And at least for NEAL, there is still some hope in the fact that tomorrow there will be a team match finals and he is going to be representing Live Sandbox. So all hope is not over yet for NEAL in Preseason 2.
No, and NEAL is a veteran. He's a veteran that has a lot of experience on the biggest of stages, whether it be in solo matches or in team matches. So eventually he is going to get that victory here in a solo match. I guarantee it. It might not be this year, but eventually in KDL, it is going to be happening. This guy is so good. The only player to go back-to-back here in both preseasons to the finals. So that was a tremendous performance from him. And yeah, we'll be able to look forward to his performance in the team match finals against the Guangdong Freaks tomorrow as well. But, for Luning, he really just stole the show today. That was a tremendous performance. It's so consistent in the top 8. And then going from this consistent play style where you're just going for podium after podium after podium, and then coming into an ace match where you really have to lay it all out on the line. I mean, he played it perfectly.
Absolutely. That's why he was able to secure the 2 wins in the first 2 rounds. That allowed him to get such a nice lead where if he just clutches one more match, he's able to win it all. And that's exactly what happened here today against NEAL in that round 4.
And guys, I think it's time for the award ceremony as we're about to give the prizes to our players on stage. And really what a tremendous season it's been here in KDL Preseason 2, not just for solo matches, but for team matches, which of course has not yet concluded. And so much fun.
First, we are going to bring in our second runner-up player. Of course, NEAL, he didn't win, but he showed us such a great match here today. And we need to greet him with a loud applause here because NEAL, he played his heart out today, and we absolutely enjoyed his work.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just been a tremendous performance from him so far here, as he'll be very happy to accept this check. NEAL, a fan favorite not only here in Korea, but around the world, the lone representative for global fans of Kart Rider Drift, will take home 5 million Korean won, just shy of 5,000 US dollars. As he does a little crying thing. But
I've seen this last season too.
Yeah, one of these days he will be wiping away tears of joy and not tears of sadness, Peter.
But at least he got 5 million in the back, so that's a 10 in total. So technically he won.
It's basically a first place.
Exactly.
I saw where you're going with that one.
Yeah, and NEAL is going to be a player that's going to continue to stay in our minds as the KDL goes on, as he's able to especially constantly make it up to the solos finals.
Just tremendous performance from him from preseason to preseason, reaching the solo match finals twice in a row. But Luning just played so well, and the underdog, the dark horse from Team Aura, comes through onto the stage. Your first place victor here in KDL Preseason 2.
Absolutely. Such a well-deserved champion title here for Luning. He's played out of his mind today. Perhaps the best form we've seen out of Luning all season here in KDL Preseason 2.
Undoubtedly.
Ooh, he got shocked there by that victory ceremony. It's the first time he's hearing that.
Yeah. Nice medal awarded to him on stage as well. The trophy is given to him too. Here, hold that trophy there, Luning. It's a big one.
He's struggling to hold it all. He's getting so many prizes.
It's a gorgeous trophy too. I'm so glad that we have that provided by KDL here. Fantastic. I mean, Luning, an incredible story for him. The underdog coming in absolutely deserves this victory.
And now it makes you really look forward to Luning's official season performance, which will happen after Preseason 2.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching the solo match finals. Tomorrow, same time and same place, Guangdong Freaks versus Live Sandbox in the team match finals. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for joining us.
Relax your mind, baby, let me take you on a ride.